law on March 28th, 2025. And with that, we have a full complement of our current board, and we'll call this meeting to order. First off, we'll take public communication. If you would, kindly turn on your camera, if you would, and please identify yourself. And we're happy to hear you speak. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Oh, Fred, I see your hand up. Fred Hinchliff.
Sorry, there's a thumb, not my hand, but yes, I do. So this is a two comments. They may be wildly off the mark because I don't know what you've learned in the past 2 weeks, but I have two concerns. One is that I implore you not to rely on the bylaws and regulations of the town or state to defend against the worst of the permitted uses. Laws and regulations can have exceptions and accommodations, or they can simply change, and there's no changing the CR once it's in place. And by the way, I'm speaking of the conservation restriction for 235 Store River Road. The second point is that I don't know if the CR has been approved by the Secretary of the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, as it should have been. If it hasn't, you should insist that it be done first. If it has, then we can go forward, or you can go forward, of course. There are weaknesses that could come back to haunt the CR, however. For example, one is, which bothers me, is the statement under soil and soil health in the CR that the 235 Still River Road premises includes a portion of land consisting of farmland for forage crops. I don't know anything that's grown there in the past 28 years since I've been walking past it, other than a house and a tool shed and a fence. So I'd be very leery about that being able to be defined as farmland. So those are my two comments. Thank you very much. I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Fred. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on public communication? I don't see any other hands up, but there will be another public communication period at the end of the meeting.
Sorry, Kara.
Oh, yes.
Carl.
Oh, hi.
James. I apologize. I can't go on camera as I'm driving.
Okay.
I just wanted to have a quick comment in support of the proposed Article 4 in a special town meeting warrant in the agenda. So sorry, James O'Leary, Candleberry Lane. I'm also the president of Harvard Athletic Association here in town. So I just wanted to acknowledge the work that the group has done from Open Space Committee over many years, as well as the Park and Rec Commission and Select Board for putting this warrant article forward. So just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you, James. Anyone else would like to speak? Pam Marston, would you, I'm sorry, can you identify, I know who you are.
I will.
Can you identify yourself and your street
address? Yes, Pam Marston, Madigan Lane. I've been here since 1971. That's 54 years, if you want to do the calculations. And I have been going through Still River for all those years. There's been a house there for most of that time. I never saw any vegetables being sold or any grown there. I knew some of the people who rented that house there. So I'm just curious as to why that is being called an area where agricultural products have been grown and sold. I have bought numerous products from Paul Willard over the years, so I'm used to that being there. So I'm just questioning the motives of the person promoting this restriction. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during public communication? Do I see anybody? Julie, do you see anybody? I can't say that I do.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Has everyone taken a look at the minutes of August 20th and August 26th? I thought they were terrific, Julie. Thank you for putting them together. I didn't have any issues with them. Did anyone else have anything they'd like to
I
note
don't
at
have
this
any
time?
issues. No.
Okay, would you like to make a motion to approve the minutes for 8:26 and 8:20 and 8:26?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for 8:20 and 8:26 of the select board get-togethers and the executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion, any other discussion about the meeting minutes? Okay, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote since Susan Mary is on the phone there. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Ahmet,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, now we have are the auditors here?
Yes, they are.
and-
It's Renee Davis and Romina Mamelli.
Terrific. Okay, if you'd like to go on camera here, would you like to present your 2024 findings and review management letter?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Renee Davis with CBiz. We're going to go over not just the management letter, but we're actually going to go over the results of the audit for fiscal year 24. Is that?
May I ask, I'm sorry to interrupt you. May I ask a
Okay.
question? Do you want to share your screen?
That would be great.
Julie, would you allow her to share her screen, please? Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yeah. All right. Oh, here we go. Okay, go. You should be able to.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let me know if you can see that.
Yes,
Do you see a PowerPoint presentation?
we do.
Okay, good. As long as you're not seeing my emails. Thank you. Again, Renee Davis with CBiz. With me tonight is Romina Mamelli. And I'm going to start by talking just for a few seconds about our firm and the transition that we've gone through. Last year, when we did your audit, it was under the firm name of Powers and Sullivan that we operated for. I was there for 30 years as Powers and Sullivan. In February of 2024, after your last audit was issued, Powers and Sullivan, we actually merged with a larger firm named Markham, a national CPA firm. Again, during the year, two things have happened. Markham also merged in Melanson, another regional governmental CPA firm. And in November of 24, Markham merged again to CBiz, the name of our firm now. So very, very unusual, unprecedented activity in merging three different governmental groups. So now we're part of a national, the seventh, I think we're seventh largest CPA firm in the country. But beyond that, just our little governmental practice, we have three firms that merged together. So we have gone through quite a transition. Your financial statements were never issued under Markham. You went right from Powers and Sullivan over to CBiz. But it's been a year of changes, and there have been some changes in the audit processes and the way that we did things, of course, going through two different mergers. So I wanted to sort of explain that to start off, but also to tell you just briefly about CBiz. CBiz is, I believe, the only CPA firm. It's a financial services company, but it's publicly traded. It's on the New York Stock Exchange. So CBiz, as a name, is CBZ is the ticker signal for it. CBiz CPAs, under which your financial statements were issued, is the CPA firm that works with an alternative practice structure with CBiz. So there's two different companies now, CBiz and CBiz CPAs. Other than getting into the details of that, I wanted to make sure you were clear on sort of who we are as far as a company. The people doing your audit didn't change. We're still the same group of people. We primarily kept all of the same people in doing it, but the systems did change quite a bit over the past year. What I'm going to do tonight is go over the 24 audit process, what we do as your auditors, what our responsibilities are, how the audit works, and the results of the audit. When we do an audit, our objective, the whole purpose is for us to give opinions. We give several different opinions on your financial statements and on your compliance with federal laws and regulations, what we call uniform guidance related to federal grants. We follow not only regular AICPA standards, but government audit standards, which are considered yellow book standards because you're doing a government audit. So following the same standards, none of that has changed over the course of the year. Our responsibilities under government auditing standards and generally accepted auditing standards are to plan and perform the audit to be able to give assurance on your financial statements and that they're in accordance with GAAP. It is not to give absolute assurance. So just to make sure that people do understand that we're not in town hall all the time. We are looking it's always an after the fact, after things have happened. We do a lot of testing of transactions, but it's sample testing. We're not testing 100% of anything. We are testing amounts and disclosures in your financial statements. We do, as a sort of non-audit service, help to prepare your financial statements, but we do it by taking all information that is provided by the town, by your finance department. All of the information we help to put together in the reports, and we're testing the information that sort of backs up the information in your reports. We have to take a risk-based approach and where we look at and talk to people in town about your internal controls. What controls do you have to make sure revenues are coming in and being recorded properly, expenditures are in accordance with town meetings requirements, things are being recorded timely and accurately in your financial statements, and especially some of the big numbers in the financial statements that really aren't in your ledgers day to day, but we'll talk a little bit about liabilities for health insurance for retirees, which we call OPEB, and your pension liabilities and capital assets, things that you don't do on a daily basis, but have a significant impact on your financial statements. Because we're giving several opinions on your financial statements, we have to really opine on every column in the financial statements, which means we're testing transactions for anything that's considered a major fund in your financial statements. At year end, for year end balances, we're confirming your cash balances with the banks. We're confirming your debt balances with financial institutions. We're looking to make sure that you have budgetary controls in place, again, not to overspend your budget, to make sure that you are tracking the budget throughout the year. The results of the audit are what we would call clean. There's an unmodified opinion or unmodified opinions on your financial statements. That means there was nothing that we had to qualify the opinion for. It's a clean audit opinion, the best that you could ask for. There were no yellow book or government auditing standards issues, so no findings related to your federal grant. So clean audit results. And there's three reports and a letter that get issued as a result, the final result of the audit. I'm going to say the most important, but certainly the largest is the financial statements, right? So the book of financial statements, I believe, was in your package, and it has several different sections. The one that we are responsible for is the only page on our letterhead is the independent auditor's report and our audit opinion. That several different pages, but if you read through it, there's no qualifications in that. Again, it's a clean opinion. That's the part that we're responsible for. That's sort of the accumulation of all the work we do. The MD&A, or management's discussion and analysis part of the report, is the explanation of why things went up and down in your financial statement. So if you're interested in knowing why things changed on your really mostly focused on your full accrual basis financial statements, you would look at the MD&A and read the MD&A to get that information. The basic financial statements themselves are a handful of pages. It includes two different bases of accounting. So the statement of net position and the statement of activities is full accrual accounting. That means The statement of net position is a balance sheet. It's a full accrual balance sheet that includes, it's not just the general fund, it's all of your funds combined, all of your governmental funds in one column and enterprise funds in the other. And it includes all of your estimated capital assets, includes your OPEB liabilities, your pension liabilities, sick and vacation accruals. So things that you don't use on a day-to-day budget, but they accumulate into your full accrual financial statements. I will say one thing I always like to point out when you get to the full accrual balance sheet is it's a negative not total net position, but your unassigned net position is negative. People always ask about that. That is because you're recording those unfunded liabilities, pension and OPEB liabilities. Not unusual, nothing to be concerned with there, but it does result in an unassigned negative net position. The basic financial statements also include what is probably more useful is the fund-based financial statements. That's where you can see the activities of your general fund, your major governmental funds. We'll talk a little bit about those, and then your enterprise funds and your OPEB trust funds in several different reports. After the basic financial statements, the notes are a big part of the report and should be read in conjunction with it. That gives you a lot more detail explaining the numbers that are in the financial statements. And then there's a section called RSI, Required Supplementary Information. That gives you your general fund budget to actual, probably the closest to what you're used to looking at in your regular financial reports, in 10 years worth of pension trends and OPEB trends. We keep talking about that because those are the largest numbers really impacting your financial statements. And then, of course, notes to the RSI. The financial position, I'm going to start with the general fund budget to actual. I mentioned that one is probably the closest that you will see to, you look for your free cash number. That's the closest you're going to come to where that starts, where that number originates from. You had a $40 million general fund budget for fiscal year 24. That included a budgeted use of $5 million of your reserves, your free cash. And the controls were strong. Revenues came in $789,000 over your budgeted amounts. I think there were 2 areas that they did not exceed budget, and there was no issue related to that. It was just timing. Expenditures were under budget by $583,000. No line items were overspent. So for us, when we're looking for compliance with laws, regulations, we're looking to make sure that you have controls and that your finance department has controls to make sure that you're not overspending your budget, that what town meeting voted is what's happening in the financial statements. Encumbrances, that's just what you're using for this year's budget. Going into next year, that was up by $1 million. And overall, there was a budgetary decrease in your fund balance. That is just because you budgeted to use some of your free cash. The general fund, the financial statement, so upfront, the fund-based financial statements, when you're looking at the general fund, is always going to include in your financials the stabilization fund. So you have to keep in mind that your capital stabilization fund has over $4 million in it. That is Can you hear me?
It just dropped off for a second, but now you're back.
It muted me for some reason. So I think I saw it when it popped up. So I think we're okay. Unless someone's trying to mute me while I'm talking. So anyway, general fund balance, we look at that for financial flexibility, right? What are you carrying for a general fund balance? There's not a right or wrong answer, but you want to make sure that you have enough money that the town has flexibility in riskier times, that you in times that maybe collections aren't so strong, that you can continue to operate. And
Anybody hear this?
can you hear me?
Carrie, if you could, there we go. I think it was accidental. Thanks. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Thanks, Renee.
Okay. So general fund, we look at general fund balance. Your general fund balance was 30% of general fund expenditures, very strong, showing financial flexibility. Unassigned, or what was available, is 17% of expenditures. Really anything, you should have your own policies of what you need for the town of Harvard, but anything in that range is considered very, very strong for us. If that ever started to drop below like 10%, you might be more concerned about it. Seems that you have financial flexibility there. And assigned for encumbrances, $1 million, that's just timing. And same assigned for articles is 3.6 million. So what you have left over at the end of the year is a strong financial position. You have two funds that came up as major governmental funds. There are there's a formula that you go through to see if something is considered non-major or major. The two funds that are required to be reported separately and we're required to opine on them separately is the Devon's Revolving Fund and your town federal grant funds. So for us to be able to give separate opinions on those, that means that we're testing and assessing the risk in each of those columns. So there's more of an audit focus on major funds than there would be on the non-major combined funds. And Devon's, about $3 million in revenue, just over $3 million in education expenditures, and $1 million ending fund balance. There were no issues reported related to the testing of Devon's. And the federal grant funds, you had $1.7 million of intergovernmental revenue and 1.7 worth of expenditures. And there's some unearned revenue still at the end of 24. That was the ARPA money that you received but hadn't spent yet. It's recorded on the balance sheet as unearned until you've actually spent the money. Non-major governmental funds is just that. It's all the other funds. It includes your other special revenue funds, capital projects, and permanent funds. The biggest things you have, the footnote actually breaks them out into all the different categories if you're interested in that. It really tells us, they put it in one column. Financial standards require us to put it all in one column because it is considered non-major or not as significant. The biggest parts of that are your community preservation fund and your trust funds. Those are the big numbers that ended up there. 5.7 million in total revenue, 6.3 in expenditures, and 5.3 million in your ending fund balance. As I mentioned, that 5.3 million, you can see a detailed breakout of that in the footnotes to the financial statements. And I talked a lot about the net pension liability. Certainly it's a focus for the audit. You are part of Worcester Regional Retirement System. They're on a funding schedule to be funded by 2036. But the net pension liability for 24 that you had to record on your financial statements was still $16 million. We are now at a 10-year schedule. You're reporting in your RSI 10 years worth of trend information. The liability has gone up. You're on a funding schedule to be funded by 2036, but the liability is probably at its highest that it has been at $16 million. That is very in line with you're putting money in to fund your liability. And that liability is reassessed every 2 years, and it is very much based on market conditions, right? They have assumptions that go into that liability and how the market does, and all of the other assumptions as what we call census data that goes into that impacts how the liability goes up or goes down over time. So Massachusetts, we're not in bad shape because everybody is on a schedule to be fully funded. Again, they're 2036. The law says they can't go past 2040 at this point. It's in your financial statements, but anyone looking at it, there's a 10-year trend to show how that is going up or going down over time. That liability is very much calculated. You're part of a bigger system, but you submit information to that system. So making sure that the information that you submit to the system is accurate helps to make sure that liability, although it's an estimate based on information that's shared with Worcester Regional. OPEB, the other big liability in your financial statements, is other post-employment benefits. That is the health insurance that you are obligated to pay to retirees or town employees once they retire. Unlike Worcester Regional, you're on your own for OPEB, right? This is a town liability. You hire your own actuary and have make your own assumptions on what that liability is going to be based on information provided to the actuary. And you are not obligated legally to fund it, but you are on a funding track. You do have money set aside in a trust that is helping to offset your liabilities. So you have $8 million in your trust. It's all invested in PRIT. The net liability now is $12.2 million. So that $8 million comes right off the top to get that $12.2 million liability down. You are going towards a 10-year trend schedule. So again, you can see in the back of your financial statements how that liability goes up or goes down based on how much money you actually are setting aside in your trust fund. It's a big audit focus because the information, again, is something that's done by an actuary. The actuary calculates but does not audit the information. We have to make sure that we're testing as part of your audit what we call census data, or the information that's going to the actuary, to make sure that the information they are using is accurate so that they can make their calculations. Governmental debt, your long-term debt, of course, is a big focus of the audit. As I mentioned earlier, we do confirm the debt with an outside party to make sure that we're comfortable with the numbers that are in there. Total governmental debt was 34.7 million. Your general fund debt service was about 11.7. I'm not going to go through every number here, but it was 11.7% of the budget. We do pay attention to that, right? You don't want debt service to be such a big portion of your budget that it is eating into other governmental services. So we're just making sure that, one, our job is to make sure that debt is accurately reported on the financial statements, and from an internal control standpoint, that you have good controls to make sure that that debt is a reasonable part of your budget and your operations. Sewer debt was $1.3 million, and that was in Mass Clean Water Trust loans, which always is sort of a good rate and a good way to borrow for sewer projects. I talked earlier about the full accrual financial statements, your statement of net position, statement of activities. You had a $46 million statement of net position. That includes all of your capital assets. It's not as meaningful as looking at the fund-based financial statements, but it does over time explain whether your financial position in total is increasing or decreasing. You actually went up by $2.8 million this year. And a lot of that is directly related to capital grants that were recorded. Enterprise, sewer and ambulance enterprise funds, 2 separate columns. You do report those both right now as major governmental funds. That means we're testing both of those funds individually. For sewer, you had $1.3 million, went up from the prior year. Ambulance went down slightly, $39,000 from the prior year. With enterprise funds, the goal is not to always go up, but to really be able to provide the service and charge the right amount to provide that service, so that you are taking that out of the governmental funds and really accounting for it and treating it more like its own business operation. That wraps up. I'm happy to answer questions as they come up. If not, I'm going to go into the single audit or uniform guidance report. Are there any particular questions on the financial statements before I move on from that?
Yeah, Renee, let me ask our colleagues, Ahmet or Eve or Susan Mary, do you have any questions?
At this point, I am okay with that, but I'll have some questions at the end.
I have one.
Okay.
Eve, do you have anything?
No, not at this time. Thanks.
Okay, Susan Mary.
No, thank you.
Okay. And just generally, Renee, where we have 16 million in OPEB liabilities, are we, in your estimation, in good shape regarding our the amount where we're contributing each year and where that exposure is generally for us? We're ahead of the curve, behind the curve, on target.
Yes, so I will say you have gone from, in 2017, when we first started recording this, you had $2 million set aside in a trust fund. That's up to almost $8 million. So it's about just over $500,000 a year that you're contributing. I'm going to say you're on target, right? If you weren't contributing anything, we go into some communities that they have very, very little that they're contributing. The liability just shoots up and it really impacts them. So overall, you seem to be on target with it. Again, you have a very large pension liability that, remember, you're required to fund. You're in with Worcester Regional. This is the town's decision to fund, but it does help to offset future costs, and it is the responsible thing to do. Certainly the rating agencies do look to make sure that you have a funding schedule and that you're paying attention to that. It's a real liability. And over time, your liability has come down significantly because you are setting funds aside.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Without any other questions, I think we can go on. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go through the single audit, which I'm going to say it's not there. There were no findings related to this. The town is required, because you spend over $750,000 in federal awards, you have to have what we call a single audit, which means you report all of your federal expenditures. You had $2.5 million worth of federal expenditures. We, similar to the audit, have to do a risk assessment of your programs to determine which programs are going to have compliance audits in any particular year. So this year, COVID-19, the ARPA funds, of course, they have been a higher risk program. They were audited, and you had an assistance to firefighter grant. In 24, again in 25, the cutoff for what we call type A programs is $750,000. That for FY26 is actually going up to $1 million. So the federal government is going to raise the threshold of how much has to be audited here, but both of those were audited. Compliance audits means the federal government sends out really a list of what we have to check for. We have to test procurement, we have to test reporting. There's sort of a pick six. They tell us on each program what we have to go in and do compliance testing for. We did that for those two programs, and there were no findings related to it. A big part of that too is making sure you have internal controls to identify your federal grants. It's not always as easy as it sounds, because a lot of federal money comes through the state, and separating what's really a state grant, what really is a federal grant, and reporting them correctly is a big focus of that. And the other report that we issue, I said there were 3 reports, there's a letter, is the management letter. So a management letter is other reporting that we're doing to you. If there were significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that were identified in the audit, we would have to report those to you as such. There were none that we identified. So nothing came to light that we said was material or significant. These are other matters that we found. So they are control deficiencies, things that should be taken seriously, but they don't rise to the level of what we consider to be material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. Each of the comments, there were 5 comments that were listed in your report. They were all prior year comments that we're following up on. The first one was on network security. That's resolved. We just wanted to close the loop on that and explain in the report what the resolution was. The other 4 are still unresolved, so there hasn't been improvement over those. The one that I will point out most is payroll. It's down here as payroll overpayment, and the amounts that we have found, it's not that it ended, right? In 23, there were issues where there were payroll problems that were identified. Again, in 24, there were still. They do not seem to be, it's not that you don't have any internal controls over your payroll. It's not that you don't have budgetary controls over your payroll, but there have been errors that have been identified by management in the review process. Sometimes by somebody saying there was an incorrect payment that went out. So there were errors that happened in the payroll. What our recommendation is to make sure that you can strengthen control. Check to see why the errors are happening. Is there a way that they can be detected or prevented earlier? All of the errors that have been identified so far do relate to the school department. So that's one unresolved. Still, there were issues within 24. There are 2 comments relating to student activity accounts. One is about reconciling the accounts. The other is having an agreed upon procedures engagement over student activities. Student activities are not usually significant or material to your financial statements. The reason that they are very, very important is student activities are the one place where there can be checking accounts that don't flow through the town treasurer. All other money that comes into the town, none of it goes to any other department. Nobody has their own checkbook other than student activities, and the principals can have limited amounts in checking accounts that really once you have people have their own cash or their own money or money in checking accounts, of course, the risk goes up. And the Mass General Law that allows for those checking accounts also requires that you have an agreed upon procedures done over them. And they put out a manual that really tells you very specifically how you need to account for those monies. So two things have happened. One, the balances in those accounts have been reconciled from the bank to the treasurer, but not from the treasurer to the general ledger. So first, there needs to be a reconciliation to make sure you know that those funds are properly being accounted for. What you'd want to do as a town is make sure that you're following DESE's, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's guidelines relating to the activities. And once you have that in place, you want to have at least once every 3 years, have an outside firm come in and take a look at those. It doesn't have to be an independent audit firm. It can be, or you can have, you can hire someone else to do that as long as it's an independent review of those procedures. And you want to do that once every few years so that you know that there's good controls. Again, it's not high dollar amounts, but it is high risk because there's cash being collected that should flow through a very particular process. So that covers two of them. The other one is a written disaster recovery plan, and there was no progress on that one either. And of course, anything related to disaster recovery should be documented, written, and revisited from time to time to make sure everybody's on the same page relating to that. And again, so that covers the reports. There's also a letter to those charged with governance explaining what we did, what our risk assessment were. So just a one-page letter that went out. And again, I want to talk a little bit about what an audit is and what an audit isn't. Of course, management is responsible for the information that goes into these reports. Management's responsible for internal controls, for having good budgetary controls, for making sure things are recorded timely and properly in your ledgers, and making sure that there's a check and balance. If money's coming into the town, if entries are being made in your system, any financial process that's happening, that you have good checks and balances to make sure that not the same person is doing all of it, that you have one person doing it, one person approving it, and making sure the information that flows to the financial statements is complete and accurate. Our responsibilities primarily is to give our opinions on the financial statements and on the single audit, and to follow government auditing standards, generally accepted auditing standards, understanding your internal controls in sufficient enough detail that we can properly plan our audit, for ensuring that you are aware of any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. That's why all the communication with you, as far as the letters and the financial reports and our opinions go, and our responsibility with other information, the financial statements, is we check it back to the financial statements. Our focus is on the numbers in the financial statements. And we've talked about this, but this just goes through our areas of audit emphasis, looking at internal controls, accounting cycles, making sure that you have checks and balances in place, that we can rely on your information, because we don't test 100% of everything. We test to make sure your internal controls are working, and understanding the key information that's going into your reports, making sure that your cash, your investments are in accordance with GAAP, that you've implemented any new accounting standards that came out during the year, ensuring that if you have a receivable booked, it's backed up by real information and recorded accurately, making sure that you have any entities included in your financial statements that need to be there, specific information related to things you do. I'm going to say the things you do once a year, but capital assets is part of that. Capital assets, OPEB pension, anything that goes into your financial statements just once a year that's not part of your regular operations is a little bit higher risk. We talked a lot about that. And making sure that anything in your financial statements, if something has to be reported as a major fund, it's recorded properly. And just in summary, it's a team effort. We, again, I mentioned up front, I'll say it again, it was a really different year for us. Things were later than they typically would be. So I just want to thank you for your assistance and commitment to the process with us and getting us through the process. And at that, I'll take any questions. I think I can probably.
Thank you very much, Renee. That was
Sharon.
super helpful. Appreciate it. And hello, Romina. I'd like to open it up to, first of all, thank you very much for this extensive work. Jared, thank you for your contributions to this, and that we have the internal financial controls that, for the most part, are they're very strong, and we obviously have a few notes here to take back with respect to disaster recovery and overpayment and so forth. But on the whole, it seems like a very positive report. Was that you'd agree with that?
I would agree.
Great. So we'll keep our AAA bond rating. Now moving forward, for colleagues, who has questions? Eve, do you have a question you'd like to ask, or?
I'm gonna let Ahmet lead.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may, as Kara indicated, this is really a great report, and teamwork, and the presentation was really to the point. So thanks so much for that clearing. So, going back to follow up from 2023, when I look at earlier years, so they were coming from 22 as well. So I think this is something internal that we will need to figure out how we can address those. My question is more on the other side around cash and investments. So there are, a couple of categories around deposits, investments, interest rate, credit risk, and concentration risk. So in those areas in your report, you indicated, generally, we have uninsured in tune of 7.8 million on the deposits, and we don't have a policy around that. On the investments, 5.7 plus maybe 1.5, not necessarily, again, insured or covered. Under interest rate, we don't have a formal policy. Credit risk, I apologize, I'm losing my voice here, but again, on the credit risk, no policy, and the concentration risk, depends on how we look at, but our currently, I think 15% of investments on that tied to one fund. Again, it's a debate that, should it be less than 10, 5, how we want to concentrate. And when I look at those, they are not necessarily high risk areas typically, low to medium, but still, I'd love to hear your assessment that, do I need to lose sleep over those items tonight? And now for sure, I'd love to push us to put policies around that. Just if you could educate us on that, I would.
Sure. So there's two parts here. One is that what we call the cash deposits. You did have in the bank, there's over $11 million in cash at the end of the year. Almost 8 million of that is uninsured. So the only things that are covered by insurance, there's some of it is FDIC, $250,000 per bank, FDIC, and some is in the Massachusetts DIF, Depositors Insurance Fund. The rest of it was listed as uninsured, which means if those banks failed, you wouldn't be getting your money, you wouldn't get your money back. There are ways to protect the town's money more. You can do it through collateralization. You can do it, a lot of people do it now through like an intra-fi or like an overnight sweep into breaking it up into several different banks so that everything is insured. But you sort of hit the nail on the head. What you should do is look from a town perspective, you want to have a policy to say, because any of those things come with a cost, right? So anytime you're going to get more insurance, they could come with a cost. And you want to say, is that the right thing for us? Are we going to say we're okay with $7.8 million? If there's nothing, you're not breaking any law, you're not in bad banks, but yes, it is true that they're not insured over that amount. If a bank failed, that money would be subject to risk. Before I go in, it looks like somebody raised their hand. Do you want me to finish first or take the question? Do you see, Kara, do you see
I
that?
think I think right now we're just gonna take, if we could just stay with our select board members.
Okay.
But Paul, at the end of this, we'll take your question. Is that okay? If you would continue, Renee.
Okay. So other than the deposits, that was $11 million in the bank for deposits, there's also $17 million in investments. Of that, $8 million is the PRIT money, the money that's invested in PRIT. So MMDT is 1.5 of it. Again, pretty secure. US Treasuries are 2.3. There is some risk out there, right? There's some corporate bonds, there's some equities. It's really the smaller point of that 16.9. The biggest thing, if I was making a recommendation, is to have policies. To have policies of where you think you want to go, what kind of risk the town is willing to take. In Massachusetts, we are pretty restricted in what you're allowed to invest in. You do work with an investment advisor, so it's not that, the question came up, should I be losing sleep over that? I certainly wouldn't, but I think having strong cash and investment policies is a good idea so that everybody's on the same page and the treasurer has really good direction on where the select board wants them to go as far as investing town funds. I mean, things like using PRIT is a really secure and good way to get your OPEB funds invested where your treasurer is not acting like the investment person that's going to make these decisions. But having policies is always a good recommendation there.
No,
May I ask? I'm sorry, Ahmet, for a second. Could you invest the rest of it with PRIT, that 8 million? Or, I'm sorry, you have 8 million PRIT, but could you, the exposure that we have, is it typical that people invest the entire thing with PRIT?
I don't think you can.
Okay, got it. Thanks. Ahmet, sorry.
No, it's a very good question. I mean, first of all, thanks so much for the explanation. It makes sense. I think from our end, we would like to have the policies, number one, really to guide, our finance team here. And the other part of it is to seek input and then be transparent to the town. So, I think having policies will help to achieve that transparency because I don't know how many of us sincerely, around the town had the opportunity to go through these audit reports and then, understand what really is happening. So, I think with that, moving forward, Kara, maybe we can go through the questions, but I'd like to suggest that maybe we form, under the select board finance committee, a working group just to work with Jared and FinCom just to put our arms around the policies, procedures, and what our comfort level is. So
That's great. Thank you, Ahmet. Susan Mary, did you have any other questions you'd like to ask?
No, I'm in line with what Amit's suggesting, just so that we have some items in place that would protect the investments. I think it's great. A huge understanding. I may actually just take the report. It was a lot to digest over the last 3 or 4 days. And maybe Ahmet and I could meet with Jared with specific questions rather than take up time here to do that.
Okay. Renee,
If you look at the report, I'm just going to say pages 41 through 45, that's the cash and investment footnote. These are the numbers that we're talking about.
Okay. Do you have maybe some samples of other communities that you think are strong formal investment policies?
Yes, and I will say the investment companies have them, but we certainly do. Most Massachusetts cities and towns use almost the same exact investment policy. And what you would have is one for your general funds, your operating money, because that money has to be very liquid. You're not investing that heavily. Another one for OPEB, and yours can be pretty simple for OPEB because you're using PRIT for that. And then another for trust funds, because trust funds, the intent of them is that you're going to invest them a little bit so that they can make more money. But I can certainly send Jared some samples of cash and investment policies.
That would be terrific. Thank you very much.
And Kara, we have one with our investment firm.
Right. I figured we already had one, but I thought where we had some of these exposures and it wasn't quite clear if we're on track with the ones that we do have investments where you feel that those are on an appropriate trajectory. Meaning between credit risk, I guess I saw some of that, sorry, investment risk versus what the interest income we should be receiving.
And what, it has to be the town's, what the town wants to do as
Going
far as
there.
risk, right? There's
Yep.
there's decisions to be made there. I will say, and the reason some of your footnotes say the town doesn't have a policy relating to this, you want to make sure when you're establishing policies that you are addressing each of the policies in the governmental accounting standards, right? So each of the standards, so there's credit risk, there's concentration risk, custodial risk, who's holding the funds. So you want to make sure in your policies, and if Jared has access to them, most of the standard policies that are out there do address all of the credit risks. So that you would, at least in your footnotes, it would describe what the town's policies are, not that you didn't have a policy in place.
That's great. Are there any other questions from members at this moment?
Yeah, just one thing, Cara. First of all, agree with the others. Thank you so much for that in-depth walkthrough. Really helpful. I would, like Susan Mary, like to take some additional time, and then maybe we can have some other questions with Jared. I think the one other area that you all highlighted as, not the earth-shattering issues, but some of these areas that have been recurrent issues over years that we really do need to address. So if we're going to set up, I'm speaking more to us internally, if we're going to set up a, sort of a working group or a subcommittee to look at some of these issues, that would be another area that we want to walk through, the disaster recovery, the issues with the school accounts, that kind of thing, so that next year we don't get the same comment.
That's terrific. Dan?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I just want to, I know this has already been mentioned, but I just want to thank Jared for all of his work and his, Jared and obviously his team. But I think that's why we're in such good shape. And I think the accountants can also, the auditors can obviously echo that as well. I'm not speaking for them, but I think that, Jared and his team really is a big congratulations from us for all the work that he does and puts us in good light and make sure we're all on track. So thank you.
Thank you, Jared. And thanks to the FinCom members and the CPEC and the school finance people that are all keeping us on the straight and narrow. As it goes, I think this was a positive report. We obviously have some pieces to fix, but I'm very happy that we're in a strong position. Can I ask a question? One last thing, which is, it's a perennial question with respect to free cash and the percentage that you should have with your operating budget. So I've heard a range of 3 to 5% of your operating budget should be in free cash. Is that your understanding, or what would you consider as?
So it can be different from community to community. What the rating agencies will tell you is you should have policies related to your fund balance, right? So free cash there are definitely arguments that if it goes up too much, that you've overtaxed people and that you're keeping their money, that you should be reducing their taxes, but you want financial flexibility, right? So you don't want to spend all of your free cash. You certainly don't want to rely on it for operations. So usually, what communities will do in their financial policies is say, we're going to have a policy. It's not usually a dollar, it's usually a percent of our budget. We want to have, 3 months worth of operating expenses that we're going to kind of keep in the savings bank in free cash. And once free cash is over that, what are you going to use that for? You don't want to use it for operations. You want to use it for one-time expenditures, whether that's, we're going to use it towards paying off some long-term liabilities, or we are going to use it for capital items so that we don't have to borrow, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation that you are relying on free cash to balance next year's budget, because it's not a guarantee. It's, the joke with free cash is it's not free and it's not cash, right? It's your available fund balance. It's available for appropriation. But then the percentage can be different from community to community based on the reliability of your revenue sources and what you have coming up for expenditures.
Okay. But for us, as the size of our community, is 3 to 5% fair?
It sounds fair. It certainly sounds fair. But again, I can't set your policy. I can't set your
No,
policies.
I hear you. Thank you very much. Did anyone else have any other questions? I know, Paul, you had your hand raised. If you'd identify yourself and as a,
Yeah, Paul Green, 288 Old Littleton Road. For light bedtime reading, I've occasionally read the Mass General laws, and they change. And this was a while ago, so this information may be stale. But I have a strong memory that under MGL, towns are effectively required to keep their funds in a Massachusetts bank. And if they do that, the Commonwealth serves as an insurer for the town funds. And if they, try to get a higher interest rate by going to some other American city or state, chartered bank, then the Commonwealth is like, you're on your own. So when the auditor a minute ago mentioned that our funds were uninsured, I guess my question is, am I correct? Is my memory correct? And are our funds kept in Massachusetts chartered banks?
So you may be referring to the Massachusetts Depositors Insurance Fund. And there are some banks, depending on the size of the bank, that are covered under what's called the DIF. Those were included in what I called the insured funds, the insured accounts. I don't know offhand what banks your accounts are in, but they were not. There can be banks that are located in Massachusetts that are not Massachusetts banks that you would be invested in. The DIF has a limit on the bank size. So some banks that were in the DIF can phase out of the DIF if their deposits go over a certain amount. It is another part of your FDIC covers a certain amount, DIF will cover a certain amount. And then what do you do with those other funds? Do you take the risk and have them not insured, or do you, some communities require 100% insurance. Some have a certain percent that they'll cover for insurance.
Thank you.
So, I don't know, I honestly I'm not familiar with a law that says, and I do not believe that there's a law that says 100% of your money has to be in mass banks, but you're probably referring to the DIF insurance.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. It's been too long. Thanks.
And Paul, our operating accounts are all in banks that are even close by to Harvard, not necessarily just in Massachusetts, but pretty local. Some of our investment funds, the investment advisor, if they find a money market account in a bank in a different state, they'll invest it in that account. So that one's not specific to Massachusetts, but they're all pretty local.
thank you. Are there any other questions? Any other board members with questions?
I don't.
Okay. Renee, did you have any other, or Romina, any other closing thoughts? Or I think I agree with Eve. In trying to understand all of this, we'd really appreciate the opportunity. Of course, we'll go back and speak with Jared about any other particular questions, but we really appreciated the analysis in this report. It was very clear and may take a couple more minutes to digest, but if we have an opportunity, we might like to come back to you and ask some more specific questions as we sort of process this, and certainly as we look towards better policies going
Of
forward.
course,
Make sure
Jared understands the numbers that are in there. They're his numbers.
Yeah,
He owns the
exactly.
numbers. But anytime you need clarification on the financials at all, just let us know.
Okay. Thank
All
you
right,
so very much
thank
for your
you.
work. We appreciate it.
Okay. Have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Too.
Thank you.
You're all set. Okay. I think that was interesting. Okay, we'll move on. Five Sparks has a proposal to place a sculpture at 7 Fairbanks Street. I see Willie is here, and Mamie and Mark. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about this? And Julie, I know they sent to you I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Julie. If you'd like to share so folks can see what's being proposed. If you can.
Okay. And does anybody? No, they don't have it.
I'm
Andy.
sorry. Unless
Yeah.
Mark, I don't know if you can share screen.
Let's see. I'll see if I can find it. You
Sorry.
can go ahead and talk,
Okay.
and I'll
Well,
let
yeah,
you know.
exactly. Willie, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what and Mark and Mamie, what you're proposing?
Well, actually, I'm going to let Mamie explain it because she is much more knowledgeable about the sculptures and where we are at this point. So Where's Mamie? I don't see
Here I
Mamie.
am.
Oh,
So
good. Hi, Mamie.
so we yes, we were donated 3 amazing sculptures by the Rappaport Foundation when they were deaccessioning their collection in Lincoln. And so we accepted those sculptures. They're currently stored at our executive director's property while we wait to see what we can do with them. And what we would like to do with them is display them on the grounds of Five Sparks. So in the information that I sent to the board, there are photographs of each of the 3 sculptures with dimensions, and there's a little plot plan that shows approximately where we would like to install the sculptures. And in the paperwork, it also gives the provenance of the sculptures. They're by artists who are in major institutions like the Whitney and MoMA and the Boston MFA and Storm King. So they're quite significant pieces. And we would love to be able to have them be on display for the community. So that's our ask. The sculptures would not need to be installed in a way that would be permanent. They can sit on level ground in a stable manner. So should they ever need to be moved or whatever, it would not need to be considered a permanent installation.
That's great. Thank you very much, Mamie.
Sure.
Thanks, Julie, for putting the photos up. That's very helpful. And of course, there's the map that shows where they would be located on the property. That's quite a find to be able to get something of this level for our town. So
it was very generous. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lovely offer, kind of out of the blue.
Mm-hmm. And may I ask a quick question before I turn over? Is they're just sort of, I see this one here, it looks freestanding, so it doesn't need a pedestal of any sort, or
No.
some of them do nothing. Okay.
The sculpture that are 3 sort of pieces that are flat.
Mm-hmm.
We would have to have a base crafted for that. Currently, when they brought those to us, they had been cut from the base that they were on.
Mm-hmm.
But before we move forward with anything like that, we wanted to make sure that it was something that would make sense for us to do. But that sculpture as well could just sit on the ground.
Okay.
The most we would have to do would be maybe a little bit of leveling.
Mm-hmm. And I'll turn it over to colleagues in a second, but is there any insurance that's needed from the town? Or do we have to worry about that?
Willie, do you
something should
know
happen.
anything about insurance?
I don't know. Insurance for the town. I don't know. We
Meaning-
would have to check that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Colleagues, any other questions? Eve, would you like to?
Yeah, so I think they're gorgeous. I think it's an amazing feat that they ended up with Five Sparks. So I congratulate you on whatever happened that made them come here. What I particularly like about it is that it brings some of the contents of Five Sparks, if you will, outside, meaning it's visible and people can enjoy it, sort of interact with it in a visual way without having to go into the building. So I think it makes it even more accessible, and it will be visually accessible from further away. So I love that. I hadn't thought about the insurance thing until it was brought up. I don't know how to bring up a perhaps far-fetched worry, but could people climb on them and get hurt, or sort of like, how do we deal with that? I mean, they're beautiful, and I don't expect that would happen, but I suppose it could.
I think we definitely have to have a conversation with our insurance agent and the town to, I think we don't know the answer to that yet.
Okay, thank you. Ahmet?
I think I will echo what has been said. It's more around, it's a wonderful opportunity, and thanks to Sparks team to make it happen. And I think that, I'm for sure in support of this. And I think we need to put a couple of measures in place to make sure that, especially me, I love to climb on things, so that I'm not gonna climb on it. But if you can put some signs and this and that, I think it will be wonderful for the town.
Thank you. Dan, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Dan?
No, that's okay. If the board members want to go first, that's fine. So I yield to the rest of the board members until.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Yeah, no
Susan,
worries.
Mary, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I immediately thought climbing structure. I mean, we had that HES thing in front of the elementary school, and kids were on that nonstop. So I don't know for sure we would need signage. And I don't know I'd hate to have one broken, etc. I don't know if kids are generally on these structures where they're currently placed and what people have experienced, or whether it's just sort of a natural, oh, of course you don't go on the structures. But it looks like a fabulous climbing structure to me from a kid's point of view. So that would be my only concern, is just making sure we are mindful of that as they go in. I think having sculpture is phenomenal, and general support of it.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. So that's the reason. Thank you, Willie and Mamie, for coming as well. But these are some of the things that I think we had briefly talked about when I met with Five Sparks and was contacted by Willie. So some of the concerns that I think we have is, obviously I was worried about any foundation structures being necessary. Obviously it's town property, so it should go in front of the select board. And I think, what was already mentioned in terms of ownership, I don't think we would pay for the insurance, because even though it's on our property, we'd have to figure that out. And I think the liability of that should not fall on us. It should, ownership as well as for the insurance, I think should fall on somebody other than the town, just my own opinion. Because we're not going to own them. They're not owned and stored by the town. My only other comment would be, I'm not sure, and I mean no disrespect to anybody, that I do like the structures as well, but it is in the historic district in front of a historic building, so I just wasn't sure what the flavor of, if the historic district was even approached, or do they need to be approached on this, because they will be on display and visible from the street. That is often a concern of any historic district. So I just want to make sure that we cover those bases as we move along. I'm not sure if they just call them temporary, and maybe that's the case. I don't want to be in a situation where this is granted and we install them and go through all these hoops, and then somebody steps in and says we can't have those there. That's all.
We came to the selectmen as a first step because it is the town land, and we wanted to make sure that the selectmen felt that it was worth pursuing to figure out the answers to the questions that have been addressed or asked tonight. So
Yeah,
yes.
Great approach, Willie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Willie. I think the best, oh, sorry, Eve, did you have something else?
Yeah, Cara, I just wanted to throw in the opposite side of the insurance is I would hate for them to get damaged or vandalized or, otherwise for something of that sort to happen. So obviously both sides, ensuring it from your perspective and ensuring the liability from the town's perspective. I do want to just point out again, if they are temporary, I mean, I don't know about the Historic Commission. I would very strongly support these for the reasons I've already said. And I hope that we could get into a conversation with the Historic Commission if this sort of thing has never come up before. I mean, perhaps it hasn't.
Okay, thank you. So I think probably next steps is Willie and Mamie and Mark, if you could, sort of help us populate some of these questions and answer some of these questions, and then we'll try to bring it back here for a vote. But let's see where we get with respect to these questions. And so, Julie, if you would put a little, just a little marker, let's try to take this up maybe in early October. Does that sound fair? Willie, what are your thoughts? Mid-October? Or I mean, I don't know if you have a timeline you need to accept these or not.
We don't have a timeline. I'm on. We need to make sure that we're in town to come to the meeting.
Okay. Okay,
Maybe
sounds
what I
good.
can do is check in with Julie and see what the next few meetings are and try to get back to you as soon as we possibly can.
That
That'd
sounds
be
great.
great. Okay.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much for bringing this forward and
Terry, if I
yeah.
may,
Oh, sorry, Ahmet. Yep.
no, if something goes wrong, I'll be happy to accept one of those in my backyard.
Oh, gee. I don't know. I think if we can't get free trash bags, Ahmet, I'm pretty sure this would be a problem. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all, and we'll look forward to coming back to you.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Harvard Climate Initiative Committee has an update and a vote to appoint Nancy Hartshorn. So I see her, Nancy, here. So Ellen, with that, would you like to talk a little bit about HCIC?
Yes, I would. So can I share screen?
Hold on for Julie.
Yes. Yep, you should be.
Julie, is that okay?
Yep.
I hope this is the right one. I'm never very good at this. Anything happening?
Yes.
Yes?
Coming
Okay.
on. Yep. There we are.
Perfect.
I don't know how you get rid of the stuff on the left. How do you do that?
I'll put it on the presentation mode if you could. The lower right, yeah, however you go.
Forget it. This is like where I don't know where I am.
Or just go to slideshow on top.
Where is the slide?
To the right of transition.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
Animation.
Okay, yeah. Did that do anything? No. Well, yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So we used to come, I don't know, every 6 months, I think, when the select board before had us coming, or maybe it was even quarterly. So we haven't been here since December of 2024. So I thought it was a good time to come back for a couple of reasons. One, I'd like to have the update so that you know what we're doing. And then two, we're having a little bit of a change in some of our focus, and I wanted that to be clear. So that's what this is about today. So I think this is update of so the plan is from 2022. I can't believe it's already 3 years. So I want to go forward. And where is the thing to, oh my gosh. Now I can't, you guys are on my way. I can't find a way to go to the next slide. Hello? How do I do that? Oh, there I did. Did that, no? Okay. I don't know what I pushed, but that was interesting. All right, we'll see
Your
what
right arrow
where I don't even see an arrow. Oh, I see. There's the back arrow.
on
But
your
where's,
keyboard.
yeah, it's under this keyboard that I can't see. Oops, I did it again. All right, guys, bear with me.
You can click on the slide on the small side, the next slide you want to show.
Yeah.
Well, now it's all messed up. All right, well, I'm going to just do what I can because I can't seem to find the things it's all missing. All right, well, bear with me. All right, so here, so I don't want to take more of your time. So what this is about today is that we want to continue to do the mitigation, and I want to talk about that, but I'm also seeing that in discussions with our group that we have to start talking about adaptation. We're not at the point where we're going to meet the probably 230 goals in the state, or who knows what worldwide. I don't know if we'll meet the 250 goals, and we're seeing that things are changing, right? Temperature's hotter, there's more floods. Algal blooms, lucky this year we didn't have one, we got close. All right, so that's something from the past. The farms are seeing some issues when it comes to food and how, some of the crops are not sustaining as well. We're looking at droughts. I'm even concerned about wildfires. We have a big forest out there, and I've been actually talking to the chief about, do we need to talk about wildfires too? Are we prepared? So we took the climate action plan that we had. We didn't change much, but we started to highlight what's mitigation and what's adaptation. And we're going to do both, but we also have to pay a little bit more attention to adaptation. And I'll tell you a little story about this in a minute, because I was at something on Saturday when I got those tornado warnings. So I'm going to talk about how that kind of impacts here. So mitigation, it's what we've been doing. We're trying to reduce the carbon emissions. We're trying to change energy supply to renewables, capturing carbon, which we do well with our forests and our wetlands and trees, protecting biodiversity. But adaptation tells us we need to prepare for the heat, for the storms, the drought, for everything that's going on. So we know what our cooling centers are. We know that we have generators and solar and battery backup. This neighborhood emergency thing I want to spend a little bit of time on in a minute. And then, you know, rules for education and education for about outdoor fire prevention, which I think we need to do more education on. Building infrastructure, if some point we have DPW director, hopefully at some point we can talk about culverts and rain gardens and not worry as much about floods. And then also preparing for what's going to happen from a health perspective with
Excuse me,
different.
Ellen, do you mind if I interrupt for a second through the chair? Are you advancing the slides? Because they're still on the first one. I just wasn't sure if
So
you're
now
going
you
through.
really, it's stuck?
Yeah, does anybody else see that as well? I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Oh, interesting. All
Yeah,
right.
it is stuck. Yep.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt,
All
Ellen.
right,
I
try
apologize.
this. No, it's good. I'm obviously don't have this. Is now you seeing anything? It says it's paused. All right, well, why is it paused? All right, where are you now?
It just it shows the first one and then it goes back to
All
Now
right,
it's on
you know what I'm
progress
gonna
to
do?
date. Oops.
Julie, can you put it up for me? And do it that way? Because maybe I'm just not so good at this. You
Okay.
have it. Can you do
Let me
that?
try. Let me try.
Sorry, guys. Thank you for letting me know, Dan.
You're welcome.
Should have checked out my technology beforehand. Meanwhile, I've got
Oh, you know what? I don't have it in this packet.
Okay, so let me try again. Do you know? You want me to try again? Oh,
Yeah,
someone sharing. The host isn't allowing well. All right, you're trying to
there
show.
you go. I'll see if I can get it in my email.
You want me to wait? Yep.
Look, yeah, try it one more time. See if we can get it.
It's just my screen, the way it does it. I can't even see beyond what's there.
Oh, now I see
Well,
it.
that's good. You have the whole screen.
have it
being that
now.
Slide. There you go.
Yeah, but I
You
don't
have
have
it
a way
now.
to progress it. That's what's missing.
I
because-
should be able
You
to
can
hit the
see the
right
little
arrow.
arrows.
Yeah,
Just
arrow.
on
Right
the
arrow.
keyboard.
Right
Yep.
there.
There you go. Right there. Right.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
There you go. You
All
did it.
right, so here's where I was. All right, so you saw my lovely pictures. There's the heat, there's the floods, there's the poor algal blooms, there's the food, fire, drought. Okay, so this is the one that I was talking through. Thank you, Dan. All right, got it now. All right, so again, I think you heard me. So mitigation, we're going to continue to do. Adaptation is what we're somewhat worried about. I wouldn't say worried, but we think we need to be more prepared than we've ever been. All right, so this was the climate action plan. We had these 6 areas. Those areas have not changed. We have not changed the plan, but what we have done is we've kind of color coded it for lack of not wanting to upset the plan and said, okay, if it's green, these are things that are adaptation, and everything else that had to do with mitigation is black, that the blue items are both because some are. And then I wanted to also put in this things that are progress to date so you can see that, and then items that might have changed. And again, our group went through every one of these in detail at a couple of our meetings. So today I want to go through those goals. I will try to go quickly so you can at least see what we've done since we've been here in December. So we go to buildings, and here it is. It's again in black. So therefore, this is a mitigation issue. So everything in black is mitigation. So this goes through electrification and upgrading and the plans for that, which is mostly through HEAC. But some of these things you know about, we have building electrification, happening. We're trying to do that with our new energy manager. We're targeting those issues that need it the most, the brownfield and the library. And we passed, if you recall, everything we needed for climate leaders. We have not heard about climate leaders yet. I'm hoping to hear soon. But this is an area when we talk about decarbonization and what's going on is something, if we have the all boards meeting, I think people really need to know that this is something that we are trying to achieve as climate leaders. And what does that mean for everyone? We've never had that conversation. And I don't know how many of the other boards really know about what we're doing in this regard and how it impacts them. So that's something for all boards meeting I'd like to see. And we passed the specialized code. We've done that. And then when reducing waste, this is something we're trying to talk a lot more about, of how to get waste down. I think this is one where, and Nancy's been, who we're introducing today, has started to be involved with this. How do we reduce our waste? What about Black Earth again? Can we reduce the waste, which is better for the climate, but also would reduce our costs if we didn't have to throw everything into the trash? So those are things for us to talk about. We had baseline dates. We've moved those dates a little farther because we didn't have the data. We're still trying to get there. Okay, next one with buildings, education, we're continuing to educate on heat pumps and solar. This one's really heat pumps oriented. Unfortunately, with the federal incentives, we're not sure how many more people will do this, but the state still has incentives, so we're continuing to promote that for people in town. And I will have data. Julie always helps me, or over at the Hildreth House, they help me get the data at the end of the year so we can see what the growth is in the number of heat pumps that are in people's homes, and that's still an important goal for us. Again, composting at home, I talked about this. I don't know if there is a transfer station committee anymore. I have a sense it isn't there, but I think it's something we want to go back to because we think there's a way of reducing costs if we could just get some of the food waste out of our systems and other things, clothing, and I think a lot of that happens, but definitely food waste. And that's something the Green Team also works on at the Bromfield School and at HES. All right, those are the building issues. The next ones, again, most of these are still black. The ones that are blue are both. Negotiate the renewable, that we have the new CCA coming in November. I think we have to, actually, Dan, I think we have to start advertising that soon now that I'm thinking about it, and go back to the consultants and find out from the brokers when we're going to put that information out to everyone. We have a new contract for 2 years starting in November. And increasing solar installations on municipal buildings, we keep trying. I think there's a whole issue with National Grid that still can't be addressed, but I'm hoping with the energy manager that this is something that maybe could move forward, because solar would be an important way to kind of reduce our costs if we could get something established. And then battery storage, we're behind. These are things I said 3 by 2027. We used to have an earlier date. We're not there. Adding battery storage, we're not there. I don't think this is going to happen for a few years, depending on the technology. And then residential, I did start a solar coaching program back in the spring, and we have solar coaches now. And actually right now there's a run on solar coaches because everybody sees the incentives ending from the feds by the end of December 31st. And now all of a sudden everybody's asking me for solar coaches. So money does speak. And I see more of that interest right now. I don't know what will happen afterwards, but again, there's still some state incentives. And then advocating for farms, which anybody can join a farm and get about 10% off, which is actually a good deal. Okay, transportation, we passed the ZEV first policy. I don't think much is happening with that. I don't think anybody needs a replacement of cars on the municipal side right now. Charging stations is still something that the HEAC has not seemed to be able to get us there, but the state is actually committing about $48 million for charging stations across the state. I don't know how that means for us. They claim that they're going to put more money in rural areas, but I haven't seen anything out on that at this point. That's something that we've still been talking about in town. Reducing on the residential side. So there is this thing called Sunday on September 21st. This is something that is done by Third Act, which is Bill McKibben, if you follow any of the climate news, and they're doing this nationwide, and we decided to join it. So on Sunday, September 21st, in the conservation parking land that we own next to the Harvard Realty office across from the cemetery, I got permission from Chief Babu, if it's okay if we set up for 2 hours with about 10 EVs, a couple of e-bikes, and then we're going to also talk about solar and different solar options. So we're doing that for 2 hours on September 21st, and we're joining the national effort. It's a whole thing going on in all the states, and so that we will be on the website is saying that we're having it here, but it'll probably be just advertising it to Harvard residents. All right, so that's on the Earth Day, and then everybody knows about MART, I don't know how well those numbers are coming in these days as far as people using that, but as a transportation, and then school busing has always been out there, but I don't think is anything that's going to happen anytime soon, only because you have one vendor. All right. Natural resources, wetlands. So we, Liz Allard and Eve, when he was chair of the Conservation Commission, they changed some of the regulations when it comes to wetlands. So that was something we had grant dollars for and was adopted. And we need to do more education, and we're trying to do some education in those ways. We did send a postcard, and actually, I don't know if Town Hall actually saw that postcard now that I'm thinking about it. It was sent to all the homes. That was after we passed the erosion control amendment in the spring. We did send a postcard to remind people about how to deal with trees in town, and we sent that postcard out. And I don't know, I guess all the homeowners had it. I'm thinking, Dan, maybe nobody in the town got it. I don't know. I think I better bring some.
I don't recall seeing it. Yeah.
All right, I better bring some over. Liz has a whole ton of them, but these were sent to everybody in town based on the grant. Invasive plants, we're still worried. I'm working with Liz to see if we can do an educational program on invasive plants. Nancy also, who's on now, she's also been leading up that effort to try to do some more education on that. Soil health, nothing's changed. All these other dates have increased because we just haven't had the time to deal with it. Improving the habitat for the pollinators and flood control. These are all things that we want to work on, but it's things that we just can't seem to put on our plates. But they're still there. They just have a later date. Okay, water health, algal blooms. These things in green are all the ones that we see as how we're going to adapt, because we're worried about what's the health of our water. I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of PFAS on my street. With pollutants, the algal blooms, maybe we did okay this year. Hopefully that will continue. The biodiversity of the waterways, these are things that we want to educate the public on. I think the pond committee and some of those other people are doing the work in that area, but it's things that we feel like we're going to have to keep careful attention of, because things are going to change and we have to adapt. Protective zoning bylaw, that was passed. Updated the open, these are things that were passed in the past. So we're pretty much in pretty good shape with some of those. I think affordable housing plans have had a climate component in it, so that we're pretty much in good shape there. Climate change, planning board, this is one area that I think I'm hoping at the all boards meeting we can talk about. The town resolution passed a few years ago. I don't think we're meeting totally what's in the town resolution, and I think we need to have more interaction between a lot of the committees and the climate committee. And we've tried. I've sent some of our people have gone to the other boards, but it's really still not part of the conversation as much as I would prefer it to be. So that's something I hope the all boards meeting can start to talk about. And then acquiring the priority land, which is really a good carbon capture, and we're always open to that. And I'm sorry about the one I heard now that isn't going to be on the warrant that's coming up because of the grant. And okay, educate about sustainable land use. Again, I'll bring that postcard by so people can see how we were trying to do some education. Lawn care, we've been talking, I've got a lot of people calling me about lawn care equipment. I'm not sure what to do about that right now, but a couple of towns have passed it over noise, I think, and over gas, but noise isn't quite a climate issue, but gas use is. So there we are going to promote some green landscapers in town. We're looking at that now just to promote them so people know about them. And then plants from the south, that's another mitigation. As I see it in my own yard, some plants just aren't making it anymore. It's getting too hot. The climate's changed. We have to start educating people about what other plants would be better to have here, what native plants would survive better, dealing with particularly droughts and things like that. So that's another new one for us. All right, agriculture. We applied for an MBV grant with Massachusetts Regional Planning Council, MRPC. We just found out last week we didn't get it. But we are talking to the grant people at the state level to see why we didn't get it, what was weak in our application, and then we'll decide whether we should go after it again or not. But it was a joint application with 5 other towns, and for some reason it just didn't meet whatever MVP wanted. So we're going to be back talking to them, I think, next week. Buying local, that's something we've been doing. Forum for sharing information in ag, they've done a little bit, not a lot, with the Ag Commission, but we're trying. I know they did a survey and they've been having some discussions, but not as much as probably would be helpful, but they just don't have the time, which is understandable. And buy local, that's done. All right, so preparedness, this is where we're focused right now. So let me tell you what I just did as an example for preparedness. because I think this is something I'd like the select board to support and help us with. About 6 months ago, or maybe before the winter, I decided that Dirt Warren, where I live on Dirt Warren, that we don't really know each other. And we don't know what's going to happen in a storm, and we ought to take care of each other as neighbors. So we put together a spreadsheet. 4 of us volunteered to be the contact people. And we put together a spreadsheet and asked everybody for their contact information, emails, telephone, do they have chainsaws? Do they have equipment? Are there doctors on the street? Do they have generators and whatever? And we did that as a spreadsheet, and we appointed 2 people who would be the people who would call and check on everyone if there's a bad storm. So on Saturday, and this is something I'm going to try to do in every neighborhood, on Saturday we had a block party. We don't know each other. We had a block party. We met each other. We started talking about some of these things. We took a picture of us all in number order, number on the street order. And it was from 2 to 4. And we kind of formalized the fact that we have this working. We had a press reporter there, which I hope will write about this. And at 4 o'clock, we all got, if you recall, tornado warning, which kind of sealed the deal as to why we were all there. So this is something that I think is really important. I've talked to Chief Sicard about it, about we need to have more of these types of blocks that have this kind of information and can at least protect each other in case of these future storms. So it's something we're going to advocate through climate. I think I'm going to ask the climate committee members to each try it on their own block. I'm going to prepare that information and put it out there. But I think we have to start accepting the fact that we could be in these kind of situations. So this is something I wanted the board to hopefully support and be aware of. So that's part of the push that we're doing in the next couple of weeks to get people before the winter season, particularly, to be more ready for anything that comes along. And we know we have cooling centers and warming centers, and we know we have our priorities in the hazard mitigation plan, which is something that I know that Chief Sicard worked on, but I don't know that any of us have looked at it since it was filed. And it's probably something that has a fair amount of climate stuff in it. And then again, that's just the education about the 72 hours. So you have 7-day things. That's the same thing our group is going to do for our block to make sure everybody understands what things they should have on available in case of these kinds of emergencies. And then again, making sure people also know about diseases, particularly vector-borne diseases that are coming along, and then about the care of their wells and septic systems, which we do quite a bit of, to new residents. There is a welcome bag that goes to new residents, and in there is a big envelope of information on how to take care of your water systems and about PFAS and about septic. So, am I done there? All right. So that's the end of this. So I wanted you to understand how much we're working on this, but also that our focus, even though is still on mitigation, that we really are talking about adaptation and trying to get people more prepared for climate change, because I don't think we're going to get to the point where we're going to be where the state goals are, no matter how much we try. I think we're trying pretty hard. So I'm hoping this is something we can talk about at the all boards meeting. I also hope that we can kind of move forward with getting people to think in that way. I think for us, it's doing both and with a small committee that we have, but continuing to be out there. And I wanted to just today update you, understand where we're headed, make sure you agree in that direction, and also make sure we can have some of this conversation at the all boards meeting, because I think some of this is pretty critical to how we all work.
I think we will have more of a conversation about this at the all boards meeting. We're just in the process of trying to schedule that right now. At the moment, it'll be after ATM, because that's taken up quite a bit of our time at the moment. But on the whole, Ellen, thank you very much. It's a lot of good progress, a lot of hard work, more to be done as always. And I'm hoping that in the future we'll be able to have some more grant opportunities that help us defray some of these costs and move on some of these items. But as you said, with all boards, maybe there's opportunities for people to work together and with the cross boards and cross-pollination of boards to see what can be done. But thank you, and to you and the HCIC team. And I see you've recruited another person who's a neighbor around the corner and up the hill. But in any case, we'll move forward from here, and we'd like to take to talk with Nancy if she wants to say a few words about her interest in serving on HCIC, and then we'll take the vote on her joining this esteemed committee. Nancy, you want welcome? Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
I never know when our dogs are going to come in, so so we moved to Harvard about 4 years ago, and I don't have a background in sustainability or environmental issues, but it's always been an interest of mine. So I don't, even like 15 years ago, there was a book about how to save the planet. It included like putting filled water bottles in your toilet so you could use less water. And, it had also, using cloth napkins and things like that. So it's always been an interest of mine in organic gardening and caring for the earth and trying to preserve the trees. And so I do think that it can be incredibly depressing on a national level, but on a local level, that's we do what we can, and I think we can have a huge impact on a local level. And even things like reducing waste and preserving the landfill in Harvard. It's a limited resource. All of these things are really important. And, if we can use some of that good stuff that we might just throw away and turn it into compost, and use it in our garden and get green or black earth involved so that they can do some of the stuff that we can't do at home. Like it all benefits us in every way. It's like a win-win-win solution to a lot of these things that maybe on one side they don't seem to, they're small scale, but I think that's what we can do. And that's, I think it makes a difference.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think I've seen you when I've been making my attempt at gardening down here in Still River Village.
Yeah.
When you walk by with the dogs.
Yes. You're doing a great job, Kara.
Yeah. Little by little, as they say. But indeed.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, that's terrific. And thank you for stepping forward and for volunteering. We really appreciate when people, take their enthusiasm and moving to town and getting engaged. And we appreciate you doing that. Does anyone have any questions for Nancy?
No, I'll just say thank you also, Nancy and Ellen. It sounds like you need like 50 people to sign up
really.
for the amount of things that you're doing. It's incredible. And I know it's probably keeps you up at night, but just thank you to you and the committee and Nancy, especially for stepping up all the work that you're doing.
You're welcome.
And I know, yeah, we could use about 50 people, but that's okay. We have a good team. And also thank you for letting us come tonight. I know it's been a long meeting. I also talk very fast, and I know that, but I'm also trying to get everybody through it all. So, I hope the commitment's there. That's all I can say. I think I'm like Nancy. We're concerned about the future, but we also know that we can tackle it.
Yeah, to that point, I don't see a copy of the presentation in the packet, but if we could get it, that would be great. All the members.
I think that Julie sent it out
Come
separately
subsequent?
today. So
Okay,
just so
great,
you
thanks.
know. Yep. With that, Eve, would you like to say anything or ask Nancy anything?
No, I think it's great. Nancy's joining. Thank you. And Ellen, you know how much I think of all the work you're doing. So it goes without saying that it's an incredible undertaking. But I will say, I'm really glad that you're coming here on a periodic basis to give us the run through, because even getting it in the packet, it's not the same as hearing it. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Ahmet?
I think two things. One is, again, I'll echo that, the committee is doing a great job, and I have the privilege of being the liaison, so I'm learning firsthand, so that's wonderful. And I had the also wonderful opportunity and privilege to get to know Nancy a couple of years ago, and through her other volunteer work. Wonderful person. I think she's going to be a great addition to this committee.
Thank you.
Well, with that glowing review, Amit, would you like to make a motion to appoint Nancy Hartshorn to the Harvard Climate Initiative Committee?
And please make sure you know she's an associate. I actually don't have a full
Oh.
position open. I want to
Okay.
make sure you understood that. Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Nancy as associate member to Climate Initiative Committee.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do it by roll call vote. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Amit,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Welcome to the committee. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ellen.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay, on we go. Okay, so let's talk about I'll just very briefly. There's not much we can do today. I think I sent out to all of you just what is required for a periodic charter review. Basically, at least once in every 10-year period after the effective date of this charter, the select board shall establish a special committee for the purpose of reviewing the charter. After review, the special committee shall present its report and any related warrant articles at town meeting. So basically, this is an opportunity to review how the charter has worked, what could we improve or change or amend. And so we're coming up, oddly enough, on the 10-year period. And I think for the most part, it's worked very well. There may be some tweaks that need to be done. But with that, we're just going to look at it from this perspective. We announced that we need to do this and appoint a committee. I think that we should think about appointing that. There are some directives and prescriptions in here on who's on the committee. And I think that after we have our full complement, after our next select board member joins post-election, then we should talk about populating the committee and let it do its work. I think with all of it, my guess would be, unless the committee says something different, that it would not probably come forward to town meeting until spring of 2027, unless they really ramped up and got going. I mean, Dan, would you agree that it's probably, I know Don, from your experience in Groton, it took took a while, but hopefully we're not going to have to make too many changes. In any case, the special committee for this review shall consist of 9 members who shall be appointed as follows. Each member of the select board shall designate 1 person. The FinCom shall designate 2 people. The school committee shall designate 1 person, and the moderator shall also designate 1 person. People appointed may, but need not be, members of the agency that designates them, except in the case of the select board, where no more than 2 members of the select board shall serve on the committee. The committee shall hold a public hearing within 30 days after the date on which it meets to organize and hold at least 1 additional public hearing before its final report. So basically, after we have the election, I'm hoping that we can work through populating the committee and let it go. And where we only have 2 members of the select board that can join in any, in this period, you all should be thinking too about other people in the community who would make sense as basically, essentially, I guess they could be affiliated with board, but basically representing citizens at large, kind of a thing would be my guess is how that would go. So that's all. I just wanted to put that out there for you, that we need to start working on the charter review, and we will do that once we have our full complement of people on the board. Okay. All right. We're moving on to action items. We need to vote to create a second associate member on the Bear Hill Pond Committee and appoint Jennifer Schultz. And hi, Jen, I see you there. I know Bruce had mentioned this a while back, and thank you for joining. And we had spoken with you, I think, at the time, and all the work that you're already doing, as I understand it, for Bear Hill Pond. So thank you for that. With that, would someone who like to make a motion to appoint Jen Schultz as the second associate member on the Bear Hill Pond Committee?
I'm sorry, Kara, do we first need to vote creating a second associate member?
I guess that's right. I think you're right. So it's a 2-stage. You're right. Thanks for catching that. I'm 1 cup of coffee behind here. So would you like to make a motion to create a second associate member on the Bear Hill Pond Committee on that?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to create a second associate member on the Bear Hill Pond Committee.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's do a roll call vote to create a second associate member on the Bear Hill Pond Committee. Ahmet,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Susan Mary,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So now we have the second associate member for the Bear Hill Pond Committee. And with that, our liaison to the Bear Hill Pond Association is Ahmet. So would you like to go ahead and make the motion to appoint Jennifer Schultz as that member?
Yes, I'd like
The
to make
associate.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jennifer Schultz as the second associate member on the Bear Hill Pond Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eve, thank you. Okay, roll call vote. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Ahmet,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Congratulations and thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate it. Good luck on all those things Bear Hill Pond related.
Thanks, Jennifer.
It's a great resource. All right, now, Dan, I think you're up on voting on the traffic control agreement for the Air Road project.
Yes, thank you through the chair. Excuse me. So the select board is the traffic commission for the town. So this is being put in front of the select board for approval. I believe this was included in your packet. This is a standard agreement that MassDOT is looking for the board to vote on tonight. This is basically to vote on the specific provisions on all of the regulatory signs that will be installed on the TIP project along Air Road. So this will basically accept these regulatory signs and we'll be accepting them obviously as proposed, but that's also accepting the ownership and long-term maintenance of the signs because they'll meet all the MUTCD standards. And what that means is the manual and uniform traffic control devices standards. If these are not accepted, then they have the typical caveat in here, well, we may be subject to, or we may be subjecting ourselves to not receiving federal grants in the future and whatnot. So this is just a standard agreement. It's all been reviewed. So,
Okay,
and the board can vote to just have me execute as long as it's, on behalf of the board.
okay. Would someone like to make a motion to vote on the traffic control agreement for the Air Road project and to permit Dan to be the signatory for this agreement?
I move to approve the traffic control agreement for the Air Road project and to assign responsibility for executing it to our town administrator, Dan Nason.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Can I just ask a question, Cara?
Sure.
Dan, this is just required, right? I mean, so this is just kind of a pro forma approval?
Exactly. Yeah. Through the chair. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I have a question. So then Dan, are any of these new? Are these going to create any traffic issues because it's an extra stop sign where there wasn't one, or a do not enter sign where there hasn't been one? Is there traffic management needed in order for the public to understand compliance with these signs?
Through the chair, I'm not going to make a statement that says traffic will not be impacted.
No, but I mean, like, is it a total surprise on some of these that like a stop sign where we've never had one before, or a do not enter where it hasn't been there before? Did you?
Well, yeah, through the chair. That's because there are traffic pattern changes, and there's no longer going to be an exit point or an entrance point on Lancaster County Road. The area of Gibo Lane is going to be reconfigured so that the traffic goes and only enters and exits on Gibo Lane in a more 90-degree pattern with Air Road. So that small extension of Lancaster County will only be utilized for the shared use path. So these are required, and it's definitely going to be a different traffic pattern, and there'll be no actual street entering at Lancaster County onto Air Road. So it'll be pretty evident. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. So I know that, straightening out Gebo would be great because that's a real problem taking a left-hand turn on there from Air Road.
Yes.
Just so that, chief knows once these are implemented that he may need, I don't know, assistance or something to,
Yeah, no, I think it
as
will
they
be
get
pretty clear though,
implemented.
once, particularly for Lancaster County, because there will be no actual curb cut there anymore, and it'll just be part of the
Right.
shared use path. So, the rest of it will be grassed, and, loomed and seeded. So I think it'll be pretty evident.
Okay,
So
great. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Any other further discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Eve,
I,
Ahmet,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. And so Dan, you'll keep us posted on that, as I say, with signs. Okay. All right, next up is the vote on the maximum conservation restriction. We had this in our packet last week as well. Dan went back and made sure to run all the traps, especially with legal counsel, to make sure that it was in the standard that is needed for this type of conservation restriction that's on 235 Still River Road, which is 0.7 acres. And it abuts the other, I believe it's 20 acres behind that. Dan, are you comfortable with Attorney Alonzo's review and town council review and any other issues that were brought up? Because we asked to sort of address what was put forth by public comment and letters last week. You're muted, sorry. You're still muted, Dan.
You are muted.
There we go. There we go.
Thank you. That's better. Yeah,
Okay.
it meets all the legal requirements and it's pretty standard. So yes.
Okay, I know we've gone back and run those traps. Is there any other questions regarding this conservation restriction on the 0.7 acres?
no, I would just add that it's my understanding that it has in fact been approved by the state.
That was my understanding as well. Dan, do you have any further on that or?
No, but again, it is standard language that on the state's websites. So it's nothing outside the ordinary.
Okay.
No, I mean they signed off on it as
The
they have
EEA,
to.
yeah.
Oh, a good question. That I do not know.
John Lee is here. John, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, so typically the state will review all the language, make sure it's in order for their review. But they don't sign it until all other parties have signed. So they're just waiting. Everything is in place. It's what they will accept. And they just wait for the select board to sign it. Sometimes Conservation Commission and the two parties.
Okay.
So
I
what-
apologize. I was wrong on that. You're right. And you explained this last time as well. So
No problem.
I'm sorry. You're right. They've given
They have seen
okay,
the
but they haven't
language.
put their John
Yeah.
Hancock on it.
Yeah,
Apologies.
that's okay. All right, would someone like to motion to accept the maximum conservation restriction?
Yeah, I move that we approve the conservation restriction on 235 Still River Road.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any other further discussion? Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Ahmet,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay. Next up is the vote to accept the resignation of Rich Marcello from the Capital Planning and Investment Committee. As Susan Mary noted last week, Rich is not able to serve any longer, and we want to thank him very much for his service. He's done a great job on capital planning, on CPIC rather, and certainly in the role of chair as well in this brief time that he's been chair. Would someone like to make a motion to accept his resignation?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept Rick Marcello's resignation from the Capital Planning and Investment Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other further discussion?
No, I just really, it's a loss to the town. Rich is stepping away, and I fully support him in taking care of his family at this time and hope that he returns.
Thank you. And Julie, you'll make sure, I think we talked about this last week, so you've probably already done it. It's already been sealed and signed, but could we send a note to Rich and thank him for his
Yes.
long-term efforts in the town? All right, seeing that, let's do a roll call vote. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Ahmet,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, thank you, Rich. We need to vote on the town meeting and make assignments. Julie, I'm sorry to, I should, when we do our agenda, I'll have to note, this is gonna need a screen share. But would you, if you could, would you mind
see.
screen sharing
Yeah.
the town meeting articles? So the first thing is I call it the spring leftovers. This is sort of for my select board reports, but town meeting starts at noon on 9/27, September 27th. That's a Saturday. And at noon, we will be discussing the articles that we did not have a chance to get to in the spring town meeting. And there were three planning board articles. It was on form-based code, accessory dwelling unit, and town center overlay district. And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's ADUs are already covered.
Oh, the
so-
ADUs. What was the it was the
Town center overlay
the map. The
Yep,
map. Right, my
right,
bad.
yeah.
The map.
Sorry.
The map to show where the town center overlay. So in fact, instead of having those three articles, last night the the planning board voted to take no action on the town center overlay district, which then of course includes the map. They will still need to go through a process at town meeting to say, the planning board is going to say, take no action on these two items, i.e. the map and the town center overlay district. There will still be the discussion of the form-based code on Air Road. And Dan, with your thinking on that, I think today, so the way it was going to go was 12 noon, we started the spring leftovers. And then we figured there was going to be some discussion and had planned initially for 1 p.m. start time for the next special town meeting. But given that we have lost these three, these two planning board articles, meaning the map and the town center overlay district, the thinking was we haven't been printed yet and we should move the start of the the special town meeting to 12:30 p.m. And so we should have a little discussion about that, I think would be a good point now. How do people feel? I mean, I think we felt that 12 to 12:30, depending on how much discussion there is about form-based code. But if the discussion was running over, Dan, tell me if I'm wrong on this, we could just technically open the 12:30 meeting, continue the discussion on the planning board articles, finish that, and then pick up. But we did need to open the meeting at a specific time.
That is correct. You have that right.
So-
So 12:30, if discussion's not over on the leftover article, then we have to pause, open the meeting and postpone it to a future time, whether 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. So
Right.
it's as simple as that. Which
Okay.
gives us the opportunity to continue on, right? Otherwise, we'd have to, if we stayed at the originally thought time of 1 p.m. and we're already done with that article, then we just have to wait. So I figured this gives us the opportunity to just continue.
Dan's got a great singing voice, and he was going to
Yeah, and act.
that and a soft shoe routine. You and Bill.
Nobody wants to see that.
You can have people tapping their toes. So I want to get first off, I know it's not listed here, but we had this situation come up today. Can we vote on, we're going to do that as part of the warrant, is to vote to start the second meeting at 12:30 on September 27th.
Kara, may I provide some input here before we
Sure.
vote?
Yep.
So, I really understand that we don't want to waste time, so we anticipate one article should be done in 30 minutes. But given that this is a zoning article, we might have many questions. And then I understand the mechanics of, we can halt it, start the next one, and then come back the first one. But I'm also concerned from the point of view that if we move the start date of the special town meeting, say 12:30 did not happen, and now it's gonna be 12:45, 12:55, we have a bunch of families that we are anticipating to come to the special meeting because they are critical articles. So they might not be able to plan their arrival. So that's kind of maybe half an hour wouldn't matter. But my current thinking is let's just keep it at 1. If we finish it at 12:30 and then we can spend time. Dan?
Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to finish, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm through the chair. Yeah, I understand that point of view, but I think it would be no different than if we had a regular town meeting without a continuation and they wanted to show up for a specific article. It's still a shot in the dark, right? I mean, they have to figure out how long the articles are going to take to be discussed. So I think we're just, my thought process was just trying to move it along so that we wouldn't be sitting there waiting if in fact the article on form-based code might take 20 minutes, then we would be sitting there for 10 minutes. So that was the only rationale behind it.
You are more optimistic than I am.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic. Got to go in with a positive attitude.
Eve, go ahead.
Yes, so 2 things. One, will the town know ahead of time, both it will be publicized and people will absorb the idea that the town center overlay is not going to be discussed? Because I think that is an article that has a lot of interest, and if people know that it's not going to be on there, then we actually might move things along more quickly, because I think it will be a somewhat smaller, I could anticipate it be a smaller turnout if it's just form-based code. So that's my one question of kind of how are we going to advertise this information? And the other one is I have immense respect for people's time. I am a bit uncomfortable if we end early, making people sit. I find it more difficult than kind of trying to time the start of the second part. So I would be in favor of moving up the start time of the special to 12:30.
Okay, Dan?
Yeah, through the chair. Eve, I think legally we have to continue the town meeting with the 3 remaining articles, so we can't legally post that we will be taking no action. It has to be presented the same exact way that the articles were presented at the original town meeting. So I don't know how we would advertise saying we're not going to take any action, because then it's predetermining, the outcome before we even actually call the body together.
Well, may I, Cara?
Yes, of course.
If that's the case, I would anticipate that there will be a large turnout for in anticipation of the town center overlay, in fact, being discussed. So if that's the case, people are going to be there anyway.
Yeah.
And if they're going to be there anyway, I would just as well move things along and not make them sit if we're done early, like early meeting before 1. But I think it's a little bit hard to predict which way it's going to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, regardless of the time, it's great for more people to come by. Then it will help, just we'll get more, input, guidance during the town meeting. So I think that part really actually does not concern. More importantly, encourages me more people coming. But I understand the 12:30, why it might help. So
Okay. Susan Mary?
Yeah, I don't think you can win on this one, because I actually liked Ahmet's view of it better. I mean, telling people that you're going to start at a time but you don't actually start there. It's the hurry up and wait thing. Please get here so we can start you at 12:30, but oh no, we've got another 15 minutes. But you can't really advertise for a 12:45 start time, so now you got to hit to 1, which is definitely probably too long. So I don't think you can win here. So I don't have a strong opinion either way. I actually think it's more respectful to start at 1, so the people can take a break in between 12:30 and 1 if need be, and people who are showing up for the other part of the town meeting, their time is respected too, but I'll go with the flow on this one.
Yeah, yeah, my thinking is, I mean, I will, obviously the paper will report what the planning board voted on last night, and so we'll have to see. My thought process was I didn't want folks waiting and sitting around and then possibly losing them. And it's very hard to predict whether or not what are the issues with form-based code. And there's also administrative stuff, meaning by the time you get people in there and you do your Pledge of Allegiance and all that kind of stuff, you know, that alone might be 7 to 10 right there. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was just waiting for you to finish.
No, that's okay. That was basically my thought.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I also think the logistics of it all, if we have too much for a break and people want to leave, then they have to return their clickers and recheck them
Yeah.
back in.
Yeah.
So the logistic part of that as well. And we're just trying to be cognizant of that because we've worked with the town staff and the town clerk. She's worked with the vendor Meridian and CM Geeks to ensure that it's an even flow, and because it's going to be 2 warrants and the clicker is going to be utilized for both, it's there's just logistics that were
Yeah.
worked out for it. That's all.
I think that Susan Mary is right in that there's like a no-win position on this.
Right.
You know, you're trying to shave it so everybody doesn't waste their time, you know.
Yeah.
The thing that I would say that I would worry about is, I mean, for me personally, I've told people 12 noon for spring leftovers and 1 o'clock for the start of the new special town meeting, and I do wonder about changing things midstream on that. So it seems to me that my colleagues are on for more or less to keep it as it is from 12 to 1, and we'll just have to, and who knows what will happen with form-based code. I just didn't want people tapping their toes for 40 minutes. However, that said, the folks that are coming there for specific articles, you know, we'll just, you know, I think it might be easier just to keep it to 1 in the end result. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, what we're all trying to do is make sure that people feel that their time is respected, and that we're not, you know, but on the other hand, maybe trying to rush things through isn't the right answer either. So if somebody would like to make a motion on what they'd like to keep or do, I'll look for that. Ahmet, did you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to keep the start meeting of special town meeting at 1 p.m.
I'll
So,
second that.
okay. All right. Any more discussion? Okay, seeing none. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Ahmet,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So folks, if you're there, I would like you to send in some requests for Dan to sing and Bill Barton to do his soft shoe. If you got some, we're gonna have to DJ between 12:30 and you know, special town meeting dance party. You got to be there. All right.
Maybe we could bring bingo back too.
Yeah, there you go. Bring
Bake sale. Have a bake sale.
Exactly. Free trash bags if you get your bingo card filled. All right. Moving on. Let's move to thank you, Julie, for bringing this up. We'll need to start then with the town meeting articles. As you know, planning board will handle the spring leftovers, and now we have to go through you know, they'll be up there for Article 40, so we're okay with that. We'll keep scrolling, Julie, if you would. Thank you. And that was the overlay district map. And then the protective bylaw. So they will handle taking no action on that. And then now we have well, are we?
Yeah.
I think
Again,
that's
these
still
through the chair, that these all have to be presented exactly the way they were last time. So there's really no
correct.
actions on the I like
Yep.
what you call them, leftovers. So
Exactly. All right. So this is still, are we on form-based code, or are we still on
yeah, it goes for a while. So
town
we have
center
to pull up
overlay? I'm
these.
looking at design standards and I'm like, I don't think we had that in town center overlay, but
Yeah, Julie, do we have the
Accessory-
special town meeting one?
accessory
What is that?
structure. Yeah,
So, Cara, can I ask a question of Dan then
sure.
on this?
Yeah,
When you say it has to be presented in the same way, it does not need to be read in its entirety, does it?
Through the chair, no.
no.
No, similar to
Thank
the
you.
other articles, no, it does not. However, it has to be presented it's continuation of the past town meeting. So whatever was presented at town meeting in May has to be presented exactly the same way. In fact, council even suggests that we don't need to reprint everything, but I told them, well, we need to because there are going to be people there that don't have this in front of them. So we're reprinting the warrant articles from the continuation the same exact way they were presented in May.
Okay.
That way everybody has them present with, so that they can read along.
So there can be amendments to, like, say, form-based code on the floor,
That's
but
correct.
they couldn't like have held hearings in the last few weeks to see what else they could rejigger for the form-based code or anything else for that matter. They have to present it as the warrant was printed back then. There could be changes on the floor, but they can't, this is how it was printed and this is how we have to present it.
Correct. Yeah, and I believe they may have, I don't know if the planning board had changes at the last town meeting for this, prepared. I
I don't
believe
even
they
know if we
did.
got there, right? We didn't even
Right.
open this meeting up.
We did
I
not
mean,
discuss these.
We
Yeah.
did not. We did not, but I believe they had some pre-printed changes to the motion. So I think that that's the plan again for
Okay.
this town meeting. So, but yes, the actual original warrant article and motions are as they were printed last time.
Okay.
Got it.
So before we start the assignment of the warrant articles, I would like to tell you that we did our level best for a 3 Penny Farm on the conservation restriction. But we got word today that our application scored low for a number of different of the ratings. It's just categories we did not qualify for, like environmental justice and so forth. So with that, the conservation restriction for 3 Penny Farm, because there will be no award, grant award, we are striking that from the warrant. So we are down to now 5 articles. So now we can go ahead and look at these and then assign them. Article 1, Air Road Transportation Improvement Project, property acquisition funding. As you know, this is mostly to deal with where we need to have easements or eminent domain and so forth. And Dan has worked through with the engineering firm to come up with that and projected what the cost will be, and that's what this is. I'm the liaison to planning board. I will take this, but I'll have to probably phone a friend and Dan.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd be happy to
there's
take
any-
it, just because I have a little bit of knowledge about the TIP project, having been involved in some of the planning and the permissions from the conservation side of things. But you can have it if you want, Cara.
No, I'm fine. I will hand that over happily to you. Absolutely.
All right, I've got number 1.
All right, there you go. Number 1, Eve. Okay.
Question, Cara, before you go on.
This is-
Normally, the select board would vote
Oh, right.
on whether they support each article. Do you want to do that at this time or not?
I was thinking I was going to do it en masse at the end unless there was some really big objections.
Okay, thanks.
Is that okay with everybody?
Works for me.
Yeah? Okay. Excuse me. Establish a public works operations manager. So I'm also the liaison to personnel board, but Dan is the person who knows the most about this. So that happy to present it if you want to be the phone a friend there and the lead on the particulars, but happy to support that. So I'll take number 2.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to number 3. Thank you, Julie. Acceptance of Chapter 40 assessment of betterments.
I'll be happy to do that since
Okay.
I'm a liaison to water, so.
Yep. Okay. So Armet will take 3, and number 4, purchase property for recreation purposes. This is really all of us, but I'm the liaison to Park and Rec, and we are having our meeting on we couldn't schedule it any other time. So it is on September 11th without bumping people from the COA. So this is, be clear, there's an information session on this particular article on September 11th at the COA at 6:30 p.m. Anybody's open and welcome to come. But I think I feel comfortable taking 4, but I would, obviously appreciate any support anybody wants to take on that. Article 5. Susan Mary is.
Yep, I'm happy to take Article 5. I'm
Okay.
familiar with feasibility studies and all things schools, so happy to take it.
Okay. Okay. And this we were in a strike.
Correct. Yep.
So we're all set on, unfortunately, the grant didn't come through, but there's hopefully potential opportunities. All right.
Point of order on that. Do we need to open it and open the warrant, strike it, vote to strike article from the warrant and then reclose the warrant?
I guess what I was thinking now is I guess we can go back to number 1, vote to we'll do it 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. I guess we'll do the vote separately to strike. How about that?
6.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, number 6.
6 rather.
Yep. Either way, it doesn't matter, but I think technically it's a procedural thing that the warrant was closed. We would need to vote to reopen it. We'd need to vote to strike it, and then we'd need to vote to close it again.
Okay. All right.
Correct?
Yeah, you're right. It is closed, so you're right. Boy, I could really use a coffee.
So
Okay.
I move that we reopen the warrant.
Okay.
I second it.
All right. Any other discussion on that? Okay. Seeing none, roll call vote. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Ahmet,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. The warrant is open. Article number 6. If we can scroll to that, I'll read it. Is with respect to the conservation restriction for Three Penny Farm. The town is no longer eligible for that grant, so we do not need to have this motion in the warrant, in this article in the warrant. So I would like someone to make a motion to strike article number 6 with respect to the Three Penny Farm conservation restriction.
So moved.
I move.
Okay, Susan Mary. Okay,
I'll
you've got
second
the
it.
second. All right. Any other discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, let's do a roll call vote to strike article number 6 on the Three Penny Farm conservation restriction warrant from the warrant. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Ahmet,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, so now we have officially struck article number 6. So now I need a motion to close the
Wait.
warrant again.
I think Dan wants to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I applaud the effort, but I don't think that was 100% necessary. It was already closed, so that means that there was no new warrant articles to be added to the warrant booklet. But I think you could have just taken no action on
Taken
that.
no action.
Down to say, just voted that you're not going to include that one in the warrant booklet. But I think we're covered
Yeah.
either way. Just for procedural, I don't think that was 100% necessary.
That's originally,
That's
I
it.
mean, me
Wait, but
too.
are we taking it off of the warrant, or are we?
Yes.
We can't remove it from the warrant at this point, or can we?
We can.
Yes,
It hasn't
because the
been
warrant
printed.
hasn't been voted on through the chair. Sorry, the
Been
warrant
voted.
hasn't been voted on. It was simply closed. So I think it was.
Right, so we'd have to
closed.
vote to reopen it if you're going to remove anything.
Well, I think we were thinking we just take no action on the floor.
No, it was closed. That means that they were not accepting any new warrant articles. Doesn't mean you can't take the one off.
I don't know about that. I mean, you've closed the warrant would be that you finalized the warrant, you've agreed to the warrant, no?
Well,
Good thing we open it, we cancel the Article
Yeah.
6, we close
Right.
it, then
and
vote.
now,
Now it's gone.
I
It's
move
gone.
that we close the warrant.
Second.
Second,
Okay, the roll, any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Susan Mary,
aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Ahmet,
Aye.
I'm an aye. So we have struck that. So we're good on that one. Saves on our printing costs. There you go. All right. Now let's go back to the top if we could, Julie, now that we've assigned all the articles. And I guess we'll take it a one by one on what the select board position is, if you wouldn't mind scrolling us back up. Thank you. Article 2. Okay, Article 1. Great. Would someone like to propose a motion to, well, you tell me, to accept the Air Road Transportation Improvement Project property acquisition funding?
Park card, I think what we want, I'm just asking for whether it states, sees how it says, Finance Committee recommends. So we've already voted on them, that these are warrant articles.
Right.
Now it's just whether we support them or
Well,
not.
to
And
vote
we
to
could do that
support.
en masse as you recommend, as you suggested earlier.
Okay, all right. Are people comfortable with that?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, would someone like to make a motion to approve, to support, the select board to support Articles 1 through 5 on the warrant?
Yeah, I move that we, as a select board, support Articles 1 through 5 on the warrant for special town meeting in 2025.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion on this? Is everybody okay with supporting all those articles? Sounds like it. We'll
Yep.
take a roll call vote. Ahmet,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Susan Mary,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay. So now we have assigned and approved the warrant and supported the articles. Town administrator report. You're up, Dan.
Thank you. I can find my report. I had it open. Oh, there it is. All right. Sorry, I had it open. It just at the last page, so I didn't recognize it. Thank you. So regarding the project's Public Works facility, currently there's no update on that. The landfill, there's no update on that either. I'm still waiting to hear back from DEP. I've reached out a second time. Harvard Park track, the surveyor is completing the site survey and the property line survey. On the cell tower, I'm sure most of you received an email today from Julie, so thank you, Julie, for sending that out. There is a survey that's being submitted to residents and also being sent out by Dr. Dwight from the school superintendent. So thank you for both Julie's help on that and Dr. Dwight's help, as well as the members putting the survey together, being Bill Johnson and Alice von Lessica. So we're sending out a survey for cellular service to obtain information from residents on cellular coverage throughout town. It's designed basically to capture the residents' feedback on the quality of their cell service at their homes. The feedback is one of the key inputs that carriers are using to decide where to place new equipment, including cell towers. So the school superintendent is helping us through by putting it out in her first email to the parents. And there is a survey. The survey is actually included with this packet at the end of my report, as well as the link. So if anyone grabs that, they can take the survey. It's only 8 questions. It's fairly benign. So we encourage everyone to please fill that out. Air Road Tip Project, currently there's no update other than what was discussed tonight on the traffic control agreement. And we're still waiting for the council to review some information on that, so we can go forward with sending out the notice of intents to the residents. Harvard Devon's water system interconnection pump station. Basically, the work just continues on the booster pump station. The water main, there's no update since everything's been constructed and cleaned up and paved. MBTA zone water and sewer expansion project. No update on that. The design continues with our consultant in coordination with the developer. Regarding operations, as we know, we just talked about town meeting. I won't get into too much detail here, but given the vote tonight, then we can print the postcards or send the postcards and the warrant articles to the printer. And as I mentioned earlier, we are printing both the leftover articles from May town meeting as well as the special town meeting warrant booklet, so the residents have both at their fingertips when they arrive. Website launch date is now expected to be after town meeting. The reason for that is due to the survey on the cell tower. So that we have a QR code for that. So we're making sure that we can have the residents do the survey and get all the information back prior to us updating the website, because then it's going to be complicated getting that information back to us. So that's just postponed.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Just a very simple question, but do you want to maybe do this transition on the new system after the special election, just in case nothing will go wrong, for the election as well, or is it all tested and ready to go?
The website, I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it will have any issues with after the election at all. We were just worried about sending out the information to folks, because there's and Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's an entire database that you maintain through the website of people that sign up for notifications, and that was the concern, so that we didn't make the migration and lose some of that database.
Yep, that's part of it. And also, because the postcards announcing the town meeting will go out, and that has a QR code that links right to the warrant itself. I don't think there would be any issue as far as the election goes.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
Thank you. Regarding personnel, we received 6 applications to date. I say about because one of them doesn't have any qualifications. We think it was an error. Their qualifications don't even meet any type of public works related. So we have about 6 applications for that. None of them are at this point are top on our list to interview. DPW equipment operator Nick Amaneski. I'm sorry,
Amnesmaki.
Thank you. Thank you. Submitted his resignation from the Public Works Department September 4th, and his last day was September 5th. So that is the 3rd vacancy in the department, and we still have 1 person out on FMLA. That does not include the director vacancy. So that's in addition to the DPW director vacancy. Announcements, notification, updates. Basically, the state has elected to participate in more of the national opioid settlements. I won't read all of this. Because we participated in prior opioid settlements, we are included in these 2 as well if we want to opt in. So I did review with counsel to make sure there's no issues with us opting into this as well. He said there's no reason why we shouldn't. So I opted in to be part of the Purdue-Sacklers opioid settlement agreement, as well as the secondary manufacturers settlement agreement, which has been reached. So basically what this says is the state will tally all of their respondents, and if there's enough respondents that we can participate, then this agreement will move forward with the settlement, and if not, then the release will basically not become effective. Any questions on that?
Just a minor question. What are the next steps for us? Do we need to do anything as town? How can we support if we need to do anything?
Through the chair, nothing at this point. It's just agreeing that, yeah, we will take part if in fact they have enough respondents and the state is actually eligible at that point. So it's just a waiting game. But if we didn't sign on, then we wouldn't even have the opportunity if monies became available through the settlement. So this gives us the opportunity for that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. The Garden Club of Harvard is looking for approval to install a granite planter or horse trough in front of Town Hall. The planter will be purchased, donated, and installed by the Garden Club. It's basically 48 inches wide by 18 inches deep and 14 inches high. It's proposed to be installed in front of Town Hall, right in front of the steps on the granite cobblestones. It'll be centered in front of the doors between the columns. I've included a picture. It's a substantial value to not only purchasing, but they're also looking to have it engraved. The engraving will be very simple. It says Garden Club of Harvard, established in 1927. So that's in celebration for their 100th anniversary, and they'd like to install it there. Because it has a value of approximately $2,500 with the engraving and the installation and purchase, it's going to be basically owned by the town. So it's going to be a donation. I guess I'm looking for the select board to make a recommendation to to accept that donation from the Garden Club of Harvard, and then the location where it's to be. And pardon my rude or crude picture here, but I just kind of wanted to show where this thing, it's not really to scale, but I figured it's pretty close.
Yeah.
So
Picasso
that-
would be jealous with that. So
I'm sorry.
Picasso would be jealous.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's not
Like-
really so much of a horse trough as a miniature horse trough, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Dan, I presume you've already kind of vetted whether or not this has any impact on snow removal or whatever from its location.
Yes, yeah, there's no impact at all. These stairs aren't utilized anymore. It's got the railing, it's got steps on the side as well as the ADA ramp. So this won't impact that at all. And I think it's a very generous offer. I think it's going to look very nice. And obviously, as you know, the Garden Club does a phenomenal job for us. And I think that this will be a nice touch to the front of Town Hall.
I move that we accept the donation from the Garden Club of the mini horse trough to be placed in front of Town Hall.
Is
I
there a
second
second?
that. Second.
There's Ahmet. Okay. Any other further discussion? Okay. Seeing none. Susan Mary,
Aye.
Eve,
Aye.
Ahmet,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Thank you to the Garden Club.
Yes.
Thank
for
you.
that
This all just
donation, and
came about.
congratulations.
Yeah, this all just came about yesterday, so it's all hot off the press. We also received a check from Charter Communications, the amount of $16,562.93 for underpaid license fees. I have an attached letter from Charter Communications on that. If you have any questions, I can answer those.
We are rich.
This is deposited straight. It's not going into the general fund. It's deposited straight into the PEG access fee account. So, and then basically after that, it's the survey that's accompanied.
I have one question. If you're done with the report,
Yes.
related to the report. You mentioned we have a number of vacancies in W, and I know that you reported a few resignations in the police department over the past period of time. Can you give us a status on whether those positions have been filled or if we're operating with reduced numbers in both?
Through the chair, it's basically reduced numbers in both at this time. I will be reporting hopefully at the next meeting that we have at least 2 new officers, but nothing's been finalized at this point. I talked to the chief this morning about it, and while we have some good prospects, and I know there was an announcement made, but nothing's been finalized, so I don't want to really put it out there at this point. But so far, there are 4 vacancies there as well, and we're looking to looking to put into place at least 2 individuals. The other 2 he had in mind didn't pass the muster. So
Thanks.
you're welcome. And it is a concern. I'm concerned about the public works director position. I think the salary isn't quite there to attract anybody. And I've actually have some information from other towns that are probably about 40 minutes west of where I'm located in Holden, and their starting salary for that DPW director position is what our top range is. So it's definitely a concern, and I think we're going to have to look into doing something different to attract more individuals, both at the DPW, police, and other facilities.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
It's your thinking that you're going to bring that back to personnel board then, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Just because if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, and Julie, you may know, but may know this. I seem to recall that the town hall is outside the historic district. Am I right on that?
The town hall?
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't think.
I think
I
you-
don't-
you're
maybe.
right. Sure.
I don't know for
Good
sure. I'd
point.
have to look at the map.
I wonder, well, because I had a question with respect to the miniature horse trough, if we needed to go through a historic commission for that. But there was some moment there, and I know, yeah. I sort of thought it was out, but I could be wrong.
I can check tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at the map right now. I think it's in the historic district.
it is. Okay.
Yeah,
So we probably need to
run it by them.
yeah. I mean,
And also, while I'm thinking of it, the all boards meeting was set for October 15th. It was
Yeah.
in the budget
yeah.
memo.
Yep. Okay, if we could do that, and you can just tell them that the select board approved this, but if they have some major objections to the horse trough, we'll
It's
take it under
historic granite.
advisement. Huh?
It's
What?
historic granite, so.
Yes, exactly. God.
Thank you.
All
I'll
right.
follow up with them. Thank you.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Dan. All right, select board reports. Who's got some reports? Ahmet, what would you like to report on?
I have only on the Harvard Media Initiative or Cable Commission, just one thing, there's going to be a new member, Cynthia Fontaine. She's also a teacher at the Brownfield. I think Julie will schedule that nomination for the October 7th. So actually, we are very excited to have her on board. And associated with that, one thing came about, and I think the board might reach to town that maybe potentially we are having more in-person government meetings, and they're sending people to record those, then translate to a different media. So sometimes the resource issue might come into play. So one idea is, even if we have in-person meetings, let's still launch a Zoom session so that then the meeting would be recorded and there is not going to be any secondary process that couple of steps. So that's one thing for us to keep in mind. If you could remind the folks that it will be great. So
Terrific.
for now, that's it for me.
But
Okay.
can I just ask a question on that logistically? I mean, you need some hardware because you need a camera that's pick up everyone. If you're just doing it from a laptop during a Zoom meeting, you can get the audio, but how can you get the video?
Audio is, I think, at least if someone could position the laptop to have, spot, that depends on if it's a 3 people meeting, it's easy. 10 is maybe doable. If it goes to 20, absolutely correct. Then the media people could come and record that.
We also have the OWL audio equipment that can be used.
Okay.
Okay. Eve, do you have any other select board reports?
I do. So the Community Preservation Committee has going to have their legal notice about the applications being open in this week's Harvard Press. I think they've sent around notices to the various committees. Their applications will be due October 24th for the fiscal year 27 cycle, and they will have approximately $1 million to allocate. And the final number is dependent on how much the state contributes, which is not yet known. So that's that.
That's great.
MAHT is working diligently to establish collaborations with some of the other committees and groups in town. They're trying to really kickstart their efforts to get some affordable housing units established through various different means. So I'll report back more in the future, but they have some new ideas about how to get things moving.
That's great. Thank you
That's
very
it.
much. Okay, Susan Mary.
Great. So I went to the land use boards meeting on the 2nd. The biggest news from them is that the badminton project is going well, and actually they were kind of singing their praises for their wetland application was excellent. So that project is going along. Robin Lane is chugging along also. They're trying to get the foundation done before winter. And then there will be a review of the new proposal project for 320 Air Road, the 6 buildings that are all commercial. There's going to be a joint meeting with Concom and the planning board on September 22nd to review that project. that is pretty much it from that meeting. The schools, a successful start to the schools, so congratulations to the district on that. They have not really started contract negotiations yet. Budget subcommittee has met. They are looking at inviting the finance committee and the select board to a informational session on their budget sometime in December. That exact date TBD, but that would be really critical for us to get a look at the school's budget at that point and get questions asked and answered there. Board of Health met last night. I was unable to be at the meeting or watch the tape today, so I don't have an update from them, and that's it.
That's great. Thank you very much. I had technical difficulties, as did others, calling in, trying to, get to the planning board last night, but I did get a note back from John McCormick, which I was grateful for, about the meeting where they voted, as you know, to pass over the article, take no action on the article with respect to Town Center Overlay District. The other piece was just a reminder that on September 11th at 6:30 p.m. at the Council on Aging, there will be a public meeting where residents are welcomed and encouraged to come and to have all their questions answered, I hope, for the proposal for the athletic field on Old Mill Road. I wanted to let folks know that we checked with council, and that the select board, in making a purchase for a land, the town can come back to voters as many times as it sees fit to propose the purchase of land. It's not the same as a zoning bylaw, for example, where if it's defeated, it can't come back for 2 years. So I wanted to clear up potentially some misinformation or misunderstanding about that. The other part was, well, you're bringing this up because it's, a majority has already voted. In fact, to pass this purchase, it needs 2/3 vote. And in the meeting, it had 66%, but not the required 66.66. So in fact, a majority of the people had voted in favor of the athletic field. So I want to, hopefully with the folks that are there, it's a joint meeting with select board and planning board, and Park and Rec. I'm hoping that we can get folks to ask whatever question they like and provide them with the answers they need to make a decision, and do that in the best way that we can. So again, 9/11, unless we were going to bump people, we couldn't get folks at another date at the Council on Aging. I know the significance of that date, certainly, and it's at 6:30 at the Council on Aging. So we encourage folks to be there. With that,
one question. I know we're taping that. Is it being live streamed on YouTube?
It is being thank you, Eve. It is being live streamed on YouTube. There will not be, unfortunately, an opportunity to get questions asked live streamed. There was a Park and Rec meeting last night where there was opportunity for public communication, but I don't believe any public communication for this was asked or stated. So I think really this Thursday is the next opportunity for folks to ask their questions of Park and Rec and Select Board about this particular proposal. So again, we're trying to help as best we can to get information out and have people ask questions. With that, I don't think we have anything else on that reported. Eve and Susan Mary did, so we'll move on to public communication. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment or any questions? Public communication. It's our second time here. All right, going once, going twice. With that, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Can I just ask one question? Just
Sure.
prior, I'm really sorry. Is the live stream link posted somewhere? Because I don't see it on the agenda. And I'm
Okay.
only saying this because somebody asked me how
Okay.
to locate that.
Let me do that. I have a call into HCTV for tomorrow to just double check with them on equipment and so forth. So I will ask that. I'll write that tonight, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yep, no, that's great. That's very good. I'm glad
And
you
with
asked.
that, I move that we adjourn.
Okay. Is there a
Second.
second? Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Susan Mary,
Aye. Aye.